that drives the ball, and coming with drives, the opposite of driving the ball is his strikeouts. We got some guys, myself, CD, Trumbo, we strike out from time to time.
And again last night, the O's were swinging for the fences and did connect on a pair of solo home runs. But when you swing for the big blast, sometimes you miss. And the Orioles last night were missing with regularity, striking out a season high 19 times.
Look at the last few games. We racked up some strikeouts, but it's all part of it, because as soon as we start to drive the ball and hit home runs and hit the extra base hits, you guys are going to forget all about it.
It's the Orioles on Masson. We're at Minute Maid Park in Houston, Texas. Tonight it's the Orioles and the Houston Astros in the middle game of this three-game series. And hi, everyone. I'm Jim Hunter. There is no doubt about it that the Orioles have a powerful lineup, and the home run has been a big part of their early season success. But there are times during the games when it is tough to score runs. It is a challenge. Last night, the Orioles did hit 2 home runs, but they were both solos. And now 13 times on this season, the Orioles have been held to 2 runs or less. And if you look at their success on the year, in their wins, the Orioles are averaging just below 6 runs per game. However, in the losses, it's just over 2. On base percentage, it's up when they win, it's down when they lose. The home runs per game, a big difference with this team. And the strikeouts per game, although very close, last night was a major factor. If you don't put the ball in play, good things can happen. And Jim Palmer, when you look at this team, they know the kind of team they are. They're a play for the big inning team. And when they get the big inning, they play very well and they win. When they strike out a lot, they don't get men on base. They struggle to score.
You're right. And last night, of course, they scored 2 runs. They're both on solo home runs. Saturday night, they struck out, 14 times. It was the Wieters home run. Otherwise, they lose that game. Weaver only gave up the home run to Scope, so they're just not really hitting as well as they'd like, or as their manager would like. And I saw a little bit of annoyance from Buck Showalter. He said we need to make more productive outs. 39 outs last night, 19 via the Ks. Good things happen when you put the ball in play. And, Adam Jones is right. Hey, we tee it high, we let it fly. We're that kind of ball club. But they need to focus a little bit better and use the whole field. As a former pitcher, it's just tougher to get guys out when they do that.
So tonight it's the middle game of this 3-game series. Birds looking to get even to set up a rubber game here tomorrow night. And when we come back, we'll hear from Asher Tolliver, who's new to the bigs. Orioles baseball on Masson is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. And by the Bell Automotive Group, driven to be the best. Downtown Houston, Texas, middle game of 3, the Orioles and the Astros. And the Orioles added another under 30 reliever as the series got underway. Asher Tolliver promoted from AA Bowie. When he gets into a game, it'll be his big league debut. Now for Tolliver, it's his 7th season, and he's been in pro ball since 2009. Now obviously when you turn pro, your goal is to make it to the big leagues. Well, Tolliver now has, and I asked him about his special moment that came on Monday night.
It was special. It was a dream come true. You know, it's something, you know, it's why we do it. You know, you play to make it to the big leagues. You don't play to be a career minor leaguer. So to find out that I'd been called up, it was great.
Now, I understand that they made it very special for you in how they told you you were coming to the big leagues, and Alan Mills, former Oriole, very much a part of it. Tell us the story about that special moment that not only was for you but for your teammates.
Yeah, we've kind of hit a rough patch down in Bowie. We've been playing well, but the breaks just weren't going our way. And I believe back-to-back nights, I think it was 13-inning games, and we battled and battled. We were in Hartford, Connecticut. We lost the tough, I believe it was a 2-1 ball game. And, you know, guys weren't down, but it was just kind of like, man, like we're ready for the ball to start going our way, catch some breaks. And we came in the clubhouse, and Gary Kendall was like, hey, you know, you guys get everybody to kind of hang tight for a minute. So he came in, and everybody's kind of, you know, just seeing what he's got to say. You know, we figured he'd say, hey, you know, let's keep playing hard. You know, things are going to start working out. And he kind of was like, hey, you know, this isn't a team meeting. You know, I just want to say, you know, sometimes in this game it's tough, but there's also some, you know, really great things that happen in this game too. And he said, you know, Alan, you want to tell him? And they basically said, you know, Tolliver, you're going to the big leagues. And it was great. Everybody comes running up. They're like, oh, my gosh, you know. And guys that I've come up with and I'm really close with and that staff. And it was really special. It was something I'll never forget.
It has to be an incredible moment. From my perspective, every other guy in that clubhouse wanted to be you that night, but yet they were sharing in your enjoyment and your excitement.
Yeah, I mean, these guys in this organization are great, man. We're all rooting for each other. We've all got a job to do, and we've all got the same goal in mind. But we're all, you know, everybody's on the same page. We're all pushing to get better, to win as a team, and you know, show our stuff off individually. But everybody was as happy as they could be.
You've pitched in 155 minor league games, and 75 of those have been at Bowie. Now, I'm sure you could go talk to Caleb. He was there 4 years before he got to the major leagues. But how did you make the frustration, or not allow the frustration, get into your psyche so you could continue to just pitch and do what you needed to do to hopefully get here?
I never felt frustrated. I just wanted to try to keep getting better and better. You know, every year make small adjustments here and there. You know, they always say the game, you can't keep doing the same thing all the time. You got to continually make improvements and get better and better. And I don't think it was a matter of frustration. I mean, there were definitely times going through injuries and stuff. I was just like, man, you know, eventually I'm going to catch a break. I'm going to stay healthy. Things are going to work out. But the people in this organization, you know, they've been great. They've stuck by me, and they just kind of kept pushing me to get better and better. You know, all our pitching coaches, they've been great. Dave and Dom, you know, first time I really got to work with them was at the mini camp, and we did some things in spring training. And, you know, Alan Mills, I've spent a lot of time with him, and, you know, 11, 12 years in the big leagues, and learning from a guy like that who's been there, done that. You know, it's what's led to this.
Well, Asher Tolliver, when he gets into a game, it'll be his big league debut. And what a nice moment. Alan Mills, one of the Bulldogs when he played in the big leagues, and a nice tender moment shared with the entire Bay Sox team. Let's get a look at the Orioles Southwest starting lineup, brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, and nothing to hide. Machado, Scope, and Jones. That's right, Scope batting second tonight. Davis, Trumbo, and Wieters. Alvarez at third, then Reimold. And Hyun-Soo Kim gets a start in left field, batting ninth.
Yeah, and that lineup will face Colin McHugh. We got Tyler Wilson up there, but you know, McHugh last year a 19-game winner, the year before a 11-game winner, and this year, you know, he's got all the pitches. He can mix up his fastball. He's got a cutter, slow curveball, control type of guy. Now he started out slowly. Well, he 1-3. He's won 3 out of his last 4 games, and even in his last game against the White Sox, he pitched very well. Got beat 2-1.
Well, the right-hander set to work. Here's Manny Machado back in the leadoff spot, and there is strike 1. We are underway at Minute Maid Park. For Manny, it's the 119th time he has batted leadoff, and there are the numbers on McHugh.
And they're high.
Manny going down the right field line. Long run for Springer in the corner. That ball is foul.
Yeah, it's a good thing because Springer can cover some ground. One of the better outfielders, especially right fielders in baseball. The ball slices out of play, or otherwise he would have corralled it.
Colin McHugh is 28 years old. He was born in Naperville, Illinois, and then grew up in the Atlanta area. Facing Manny Machado, you see Manny's numbers on the year. The 13 home runs, tied for second most in the league. And the breaking ball too bad outside, and Manny lays off.
And if you watch last night's game, which I know he did, and again the 19 strikeouts, you try to get ahead, or he'll chase some pitches to get in that situation. And they made a lot of great pitches to strike out 19, but the Orioles did chase.
And again, he tried to get in the chase. That one bounces in there. Well, the count to Manny evens up to 2-2.
Well, he throws his curveball. He throws it a lot, usually, and it's a high percentage. He throws it about 61% of the time for strikes. And for a big overhand curveball, that's extraordinarily high. Usually it's like a 50-50 pitch.
That ball's ripped to the gap in right center field. On the run is Rasmus, not going to get it. And that ball's up against the wall. Machado's going to have a double to lead off the game. So there you go, Jim. The approach, going with the pitch, serving it the other way, and a double with authority to the gap.
Well, by taking the breaking balls, not that they were real close, you get this pitch. And that was Buck Showalter's whole message. And he was a little bit annoyed about last night's production because it's a game the Orioles could have won. They did lose 3-2 in 13 innings, but he earned that. He got a strike to hit, and then as Manny can do, he can be Manny. And he can hit it hard any part of the ballpark.
And here is Jonathan Schoop, who is batting second in the lineup for only the 3rd time in his career. And a good take. Buck Showalter said one of the reasons he moved Schoop up is he wanted him surrounded by right-handed batters, so late in games he's not as susceptible to a lefty reliever coming in. In this series, they only have to deal with one left-handed reliever, Tony Sipp. Foul off the shin guard of the catcher, Evan Gattis.
Yeah, and you would think that he would be taking a shot to right field here. Part of the one thing about Adam Jones said, hey, listen, as we said in the opening, we tee it high, we let it fly. We're a aggressive home run hitting, drive the ball type of club, but we need to do a better job situational hitting. This is one of those times. Until you get to 2 strikes, hit one to the right side. Did it last night. Did it too hard to get a run in, but it graded back.
Breaking ball, he can't catch up to it. A ball and 2 strikes.
And that's why McHugh throws the curveball, because number one, it's hard to hit, and number two, it's even harder to hit to the right side. I mean, you really have to make an effort, look soft, and hit the ball that way. And again, Jonathan, closing in on about 1,000 lifetime at bats.
1-2 on Schoop. That ball's hit down the left field line towards the corner. That ball is in play, and the Orioles are going to get a run. Here's Machado to score, and heading to second base with an RBI double is Jonathan Schoop. So back-to-back doubles get it done, and the O's grab a 1-0 lead.
Well, I pitched enough. If you're gonna throw a guy back-to-back curveballs, the second one better be as good or better than the third one. And you can see this one stays in the middle of the plate. And I really believe that maybe Jonathan Schoop's the best breaking ball hitter on this club. It's kind of morphed into that. Still they get a little bit long on the fastballs, so anybody anything over 93 sometimes he doesn't catch up with, but certainly caught up with that curveball. And they changed places. Kind of like that.
Jonathan likes batting second. There's his 26th RBI, and here's Adam Jones. And time requested at the plate. Jordan Baker yelling so McHugh would hear him. His catcher Gattis requested time.
So again, what is Adam Jones? Situational hitting. Hit the ball up the middle. Hit it to the right side until you get to 2 strikes.
And a foul back. Well, Adam does have a 3-game hitting streak going, but he has just 1 hit in each of the 3 games. And Jim, over the years, we've seen this time and again. When Adam begins to get on a hot streak, it begins with base hits to right field.
Yeah, and that allows him, because they try to, I mean, he's a typical guy, up and in, and then try to establish the breaking ball down and away. And when he chases, in other words, he gets out of the strike zone early in the count, they get to 2 strikes. And we've seen him a much different hitter than he was 5 or 6 years ago, because he'll cut his swing down a little bit with 2 strikes.
Trying to go to right field.
Yeah, and that's what you want. And now all of a sudden, with 2 strikes, you're kind of on your own. I mean, one of the great at bats off of Scott Feldman was in the 12th inning. Now he would end up striking out, but what is it, 9 or 10 pitch at bat?
Yeah, 9 pitch.
Yeah, Rickard had hit a double, and I mean, he really battled.
And fights that one off. So there's your protective swing. Adam in the last 7 games batting just 103. He has those 3 hits. They've come in the last 3 games. But he's just 3 for his last 29 with 1 RBI.
And they could all do it. I mean, they could all hit the ball the other way. And the other side is that, of course, McHugh wants them to pull the ball here. He'd like to strike him out so the runner doesn't advance.
And a good take.
Yeah, Gaddis doesn't catch a lot. I was talking to him down at the cage, and he said, he had like, in the minor leagues, coming back from the injury, maybe 5 times, or maybe 10 times this year. So he just kind of moved in, and the ball just a shade low.
Yeah, they sent him back to Double-A to get some work behind the plate, knowing that they wanted him to catch to be the number 2 catcher. 2-2 on Adam. And he does hit it the opposite way. Nicely fielded there by Gonzalez. The throw is in time to get him. What a play by Gonzalez and McHugh.
Well, he was almost in straightaway second place, because Altuve's up the middle, and he ranges far to his right. And I mean, it's one of those trust plays. If you're a first baseman, look how far he has to go. And the trust is that that McHugh, who's now kind of a veteran pitcher, is going to cover the base. Everybody's kind of yelling, get over there. Any ball hit to the right side, you kind of intuitively do that if you know what you're doing when you're pitching.
Adam is staying at first base to see if Buck Showalter may want to challenge this. It looked to us that McHugh's foot did hit the bag.
Yeah, the throw's a little bit offline, and then it really has to go a long way and then get his balance. So he wasn't a perfect throw. It looks like he has to reach back, and he does. And then it's right in the webbing. And of course, it's hard to. It looks like it may slide and hit the corner of the bag before Adam gets there.
And Buck has determined that there's not enough to challenge, so he won't. But Adam Jones does his job as he gets that runner to third now with 1 man down. So a 6-pitch at bat there for Adam, and he does advance the runner and nearly poked it through. It was only the great play by Gonzalez.
And they come in halfway trying to cut off the run.
And one of the few times Chris Davis is batting without the shift. And he fouled off.
Yeah, when you're not seeing the ball, you swing at those kind of pitches. One of the pitches that Colin McHugh has is that little cut fastball. And, Chris is, I mean, he's a strikeout guy. He always has been. 157 at bats, struck out 56 times. He's trying to hit a ball to the outfield, and Colin McHugh is saying, maybe I can get out of this inning with only 1 run if I can strike out Davis.
And he does strike out Davis. A big breaking ball that Chris can't reach. So Davis now 0 for his last 10. And a strikeout for the second out.
Yeah, nice little curveball, and where does he throw it? He throws it under the strike zone, exactly where you want to do. You got an aggressive hitter, makes a good pitch, and gets to strike out. So now it's up to Mark Trumbo.
Well, McHugh averages about 7 Ks per 9 innings. Trumbo at 282. He is 0 for his last 16. Breaking balls low and a good take. Mark on the trip has 1 hit. It was a 2-run home run in Anaheim. So 1 for 18 on the trip. He has Scope at third with 2 down.
That big swing, and get a lot of results from that swing. I don't think anybody's suggesting that they don't swing hard and they don't try to drive the ball. It's just which pitches are you swinging at trying to do that, and what's the count when you do it.
Slow roller towards third. Tough play for Valbuena. He fires across and a scoop by Gonzalez, and that gets Trumbo and retires the side. So the Orioles do get a run. 2 batters into the game. They strand Scope, and they give Tyler Wilson a lead. So the O's get 1 and strand 1. We'll head to the bottom of the first. Nice play by Valbuena to end the inning. And the O's have a 1-0 lead with Tyler Wilson going to work at Minute Maid Park. Maid Park, love the floppy hat with the cartoon bird. Birds get a 1-0 lead on the back-to-back doubles by Machado and Scope. Here's the Astros lineup for tonight. Springer, Altuve, and Correa. Colby Rasmus in the game after his ejection last night. He's got 28 RBIs against right-handed pitching, tied for third most in the league. Gaddis, White, and Valbuena, Gonzalez, and Kemp.
And Tyler Wilson gets ready to pitch on the road. Lost in his last start. A lot of fastballs, curveballs, and the changeup. Those are the breaking pitches. So again, almost a hit an inning. Strikes out 1 every 2 innings. Doesn't walk a lot of batters.
Holding right-handers to 193.
Yeah, the home run that hurt him was the Lynn home run to the opposite field in Baltimore, and it's one of those Camden Yards fly balls. 3-run home run. And again, they didn't get him a lot of runs. And the Orioles would lose 7-2. A 3-run home. The score up was 2-1 when he hit the 3-run home run, and he would leave trailing by 4. But did pitch 6 innings. And one of those games where he just didn't have a lot of command with a fastball. He usually, that's what he's about. 89, 90 miles per hour. Able to throw a lot of strikes. Maybe he'll get a touch above that.
Tyler making his 6th start. It's his 9th appearance of the year. Began the year in the bullpen, 3 games in relief, and pitched very well. There's a ground ball sharply at Manning, who boots it. And Springer's going to reach.
Yeah, hit very hard, but certainly for Manning or any major league shortstop, pretty routine play. Ball just comes up a little bit. Take a look, and it just comes up. Right up on the wrist and over the shoulder.
So Manning's 3rd error of the year, a rare sight. Springer reaches, so the tying run is on here in the first, and that gets Jose Altuve to the plate. Altuve at .319, ninth in the league in batting with that average. He is second in base hits with 58. Xander Bogaerts 65 base hits already to lead the league. Runner goes, swinging a ground ball to short. Manny gets an in-between hop this time, and he throws out Altuve. So putting the runner in motion avoids the double play. Let's get a look at the Orioles defense tonight, game 2 of the 3-game series.
Well, Kim gets a chance not only to play, but to play left field. Jones, Reimold, Rickard's going to get the night off, at least initially. Alvarez moves to third. Flaherty's been struggling with the bat. Machado, Scope, Davis, and Wieters catching back-to-back nights. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a really wise play. I would think if I was A.J. Hinch, I would let Altuve. I wouldn't want him. Maybe that was a run and hit, where maybe he was trying to steal the base, even though he doesn't steal many. But to force the second best hitter in the American League to maybe swing at a pitcher's pitch, big out for Tyler Wilson.
A little bit low to Carlos Correa, who was the hero last night. He drove in the walk-off run. There's Altuve on the bench. Telling Evan Gattis what the pitch was.
Well, he throws a lot of fastballs, and they look like cut fastballs because they have that little right to left movement away from righties and into lefties. And I think there's also, Chris Tillman, of course, 6'5". Everybody talking today of how deceptive he was. As Chris would say, not maybe one of my better games, but only the hanging changeup for a 2-run home run was the runs he gave up. It's almost like Tyler Wilson gets over his front side and jumps at you a little bit.
And a little bit low. He can't get Correa to chase. And Chris Tillman last night certainly gave the Orioles a start that you would expect a win to follow. 2 runs in 7 innings. It was the Orioles' 8th start of at least 7 innings on the year, and for Tillman it was his 3rd.
Yeah, he was not. I mean, he was really disappointed that he wasn't better than he was. I said, just think how good you were when you weren't at your best. I mean, that's a positive.
2-1 on Correa. His game-winning hit last night snapped an 0 for 15 drought.
Yeah, early in the game, of course, he hit a missile to center field right at Adam Jones. It's not like he didn't have some good at bats. And as you mentioned last night, I mean, he's a physical presence. Somebody that's, in his early 20s, and he's got a nice stance and great power to all fields.
Ground ball towards the middle. Manny's going to get to it. Bobbles, throws, safe at first base.
Well, there's another error. He just couldn't get it out of his glove. Talking to Craig Biggio, who got to the Hall of Fame, of course, over 3,000 hits, and he told me asking about Hardy, and I said, boy, they really miss him. And it's not that Manny can't play shortstop because he's played pretty well. It's just, and of course, Biggio said, what, he makes all the, all the plays. I said, yes, and then some. Again, this is routine. If you don't run it out as a youngster, it becomes even more routine.
So circle this date. When's the last time you saw Machado commit 2 errors, not only in a game, but in an inning?
Oh, he just can't get it out of his glove, and that little bobble. And a youngster running the ball out, which a lot of young players don't do, makes a big difference.
There's Colby Rasmus. There's a double play ball. Scope to Manny, back to first, and a double play gets Wilson out of it. So 4 ground balls in the inning, a couple of errors, but the Astros can't score. We'll head to the second at Minute Maid Park. The 4-6-3 ends the first. Contestant of the game, Terry Cross Jr. of Frederick, has won $500 for being selected and will win $500 more for every Orioles home run hit in the game tonight. Play home run scratch off riches and win up to $50,000 or enter your non-winning tickets for a chance to be the contestant of the game. Visit mdlottery.com/baseball. Orioles got a run in the first. Astros threatened because of 2 Machado errors in the bottom of the first. Manny explaining the scope, how that ball stuck in his glove.
Well, you got an example of why Tyler Wilson's got a chance if you have success at the major leagues. There are not too many rookie starters that would come right back and throw a strike. You know, guys would get tentative, they might pitch around the plate. So he's aggressive to Rasmus, makes a good pitch, gets a double play, and he picks up the whole team. Huge. One of those. He's a very, very bright, articulate, get it type of young pitcher, and that's why the Orioles like him.
Wieters to right field, that's going to fall. So Wieters, one of the few hitters who is red hot at the moment, on with a leadoff single that extends his hitting streak to 6 in a row.
Oh, you're seeing the Orioles get some pitches to hit, and you know they saw 6-7 Weaver on Sunday. Wasn't throwing very hard in California. Only got the home run by Scope. Last night it was Pfister. It was just a little cut fastball at 88 and very hittable.
So the Mercedes pitch tracks presented by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. And Wieters certainly liked it.
And for Pedro Alvarez, if he's going to get some playing time, you know, I look at guys as a former pitcher, when they strike out, how did they get to 2 strikes? Did they swing at their pitches or did they swing at the pitcher's pitches? And last night, Alvarez was chasing Pfister pitches. He's a pretty good hitter when he gets strikes to hit. And you really got to believe yourself. I mean, it's hard to do when you're not playing as much as you would like. There's certainly a guy capable of really adding to this offense. But it all starts with what his approach is till he gets to the third strike, or at least through the first 2.
Well, want to know the count? Well, Pedro at the moment, Jim, he's 1 for 9 on the trip and is 3 for his last 24. And as you mentioned, in and out of the lineup, it's tough to get the regular reps. But that's his role on this team, and he'll have to learn how to adjust to it. Not only that, although he's at third base tonight, he's been DHing a lot. He's got to adjust to that.
Well, that's probably a little bit easier than not playing or playing infrequently. But that was a good take right there because he wasn't looking to change up and he took it.
Trying to go the other way and he fouls it off.
You know, I was talking to Dave Hudkins, who's their hitting instructor here with Houston, and I said, okay, last year you led the league in home runs, but you also led them in strikeouts. Now you're leading them in strikeouts, but you're leading them in walks. And he said, listen, we didn't try to keep them from swinging at their pitches. We just want them to make sure that they swing at more of their pitches versus pitchers' pitches. And I think that's what the Orioles want to get back to doing.
Well, and I would think with the Astros, especially with Craig Biggio here, just about every game, a guy that's got 3,000 hits, that might be a guy for some of those young hitters to go to.
Maybe. Certainly knows how to hit.
And swept foul.
You know, it's kind of interesting talking to him. Of course, you know, Enos Cabell was down there. You know, one of their
Art Howe.
Art Howe was there.
Jose Cruz.
Nolan Ryan, Jose Cruz. I mean, there were a lot of real good players on the field today. Yeah. But Craig Biggio was talking about being a mid-market team. He said you never took a day off. You couldn't afford to miss games here because they didn't have enough players behind you.
And a swing and a miss. Chase one down and in.
Well, I'm sure Pedro didn't want to strike out, but that's a good pitch. And he had actually a quality at bat getting to this pitch right here, and then you got to give him McHugh credit. That was a ball, but you don't see a lot of good overhand curveballs, and he's got one. And that's why he won 19 games last year.
McHugh has been allowing an alarming number of base hits as Reimold comes up, and he'll take low, averaging 12 per game, which is 3 above his career average. And Reimold has been swinging the bat. Now he's a hitter who has figured out with infrequent playing time how to stay hot and keep that stroke. He deserves a lot of credit. Swings through a breaking ball there. The Reimold, Jim, in his last 15 games is batting .342, and he's not in there every day.
He's happy to be healthy. Certainly would like to play a little bit more. I mean, will be an option as this season progresses. There's a little bit past the quarter mark.
Ground ball towards short, backing up on a Correa to second one. Altuve back to first, is not in time. Reinhold always hustles, and he beats it out. So the inning continues on the force play at second base. That was some turn there by Altuve.
Very quickly, good pitch, another little cutter, and head down, running hard because you want to keep the inning alive, and he does by hustling through, and he gets Kim up to the plate. Otherwise, the Orioles are going to get their gloves.
So here's Hyun-Soo Kim, who's getting a start tonight. Averages at .379, but he's only 2 for 14 in the month of May. Speaking of infrequent playing time.
And they put a shift on. It's funny, he hits a lot of balls to left field, but they're more in the air. Line drive varieties.
He does have a good batting eye. 2-0 the count.
Well, in Korea last year, I mean, he hit for a high average. He hit 27, 28 home runs, walked a lot. And he was an on-base machine. And then he comes to his first spring training in the United States and started out 0 for 24. It wasn't exactly the way he wanted everything to start, and I'm sure he was pressing different culture. There's a lot of things going on. Trying to be a little bit better than you want to be, or don't know really what you need to do at this level.
Well, he's accustomed to playing every day. This is his first start since Saturday, May 14th. That's 11 days ago. Got him with 2 outs and Reinhold at first. Breaking ball he lays off.
Yeah, when I would go down to warm up, one of my favorite teammates, Terry Crowley, who went on to be one of the great pinch hitters of our era, would come down and track pitches. And he wanted to see live pitching. It helped me, it helped him. I've encouraged Ryan Flaherty to do that on a regular basis. There's another take.
The appeal denied by Dana DeMuth. So there's a 2-out walk, putting 2 on with 2 down for Manny Machado.
And can you think of a better way of simulating what you experience at home plate? You can see Manny last night with a home run, his 13th. And then, of course, started tonight's game off with a double up the gap in right field. So a chance to do more damage. And it all starts with Reinhold running hard, staying out of the double play, and then Kim walks.
Big curveball and a swing and a miss. McHugh was an 18th round pick of the Mets back in 2008. He went to Berry College in Georgia, and he is the first alum of Berry College to make it to the big leagues. The Mets traded him to Colorado in 2013, even up for Eric Young Jr. And then he came to the Astros in December 2013 on a waiver claim. The Rockies were trying to get him off the 40-man. And when you look back at his early career, he was 0-8 combined with the Mets in Colorado. So every one of his big league wins has been as an Astro.
Yeah, he's 34-20 in an Astro uniform. Yeah, the illusion of the pitch being a strike and it ends up a ball. And he chases.
Machado down on the count 1-2. He's got 2 on and 2 out. And he lays off. Nice block by Gaddis. Kept it in front.
Yeah, you talk to hitting instructors, and there's so much film now. There's a curveball, and Gaddis does make a nice play on it. Really keeps it in front of them, or otherwise the Orioles might have runners at second and third. But everybody knows They know how they pitch you. They know what you have. They know what your velocity is. And then I think it varies some nights what kind of quality pitches you make. And right now, Manny should have some history, even though not a lot of starts by McHugh against him. And he took that ball like he knew it was coming. Now he swung at it earlier in the count. So good hitters. I always got a little worried when I throw a little cutter off the plate or a little slider. And when you begin to swing at it, I'm going, uh-oh. Seeing the ball pretty well.
Schoop waits on deck. The runners will go on the pitch. 3-2 with 2 down. And he got it. Big curveball that Manny couldn't reach. So that is 3 strikeouts in the first 2 innings for McHugh. And the Orioles strand the pair. Mid-second at Minute Maid Park, the O's with a 1-0 lead. Birds are back home on Monday. They'll take on the Red Sox at 1:35, and all fans will receive an Orioles Memorial Day t-shirt. So kick off the unofficial start of summer by honoring our nation's heroes and enjoying a great afternoon with family and friends at Oriole Park. Good seats still remain, but they're going fast with the Bo Sox in town. So get your tickets now, Orioles.com or 888-848-BIRD. Wilson back to work. First ball swinging, ground ball into the shift. There's Manny. And he guns it across to get Evan Gattis. So 1 pitch, 1 down. Seeing a pattern here. These Astros hitters against Wilson. He has a reputation of coming right at hitters. They're going early.
Well, like I said, I mean, Dave Hudkins said, we know what Tyler Wilson can do. We knew what Tillman could do because we watched film. They probably know Tillman a little bit better because he's been in the league longer. But I always thought that the only chance you ever get to have a chance of getting an out on the first pitch is if you throw it for a strike. And you do have to trust your stuff. Tyler Wilson gives me every indication that he believes that. Can't always do it. But I mean, that's 90, outside middle. And if you think you could put it in play, you encourage the hitter to swing the bat. You don't have to trick every hitter by showing them everything you have. Because if you do, what do you do when you get in trouble? I mean, they've already seen it.
Right.
Not a Broadway audition where you want to get picked, so you sing and you dance and you yodel and tap dance, do all of it.
The thing about Tyler, you brought it up earlier about his style. He could care less if he gets a strikeout. He'd love a 2 or 3 pitch at bat, move on to the next hitter.
Well, the only time you really want strikeouts is when you get a runner at third and less than 2 outs.
Lined into the crowd. Tyler White, a fellow rookie, has 7 home runs. He is 0 for his last 11. Years old. He's out of North Carolina. 2-2 on him. And a high pop-up, shallow right. Scope is angling. Davis there. Scope says, I got it, and he does. So 2 down here in the second inning. And good teamwork there. Davis stayed with it. So Scope, who had a better angle, called them off. Minute Maid Park in Houston. The roof was open earlier today, but about 2:30 or so, the Astros closed it and made the announcement that this game will be played with the roof closed. Why? It's very humid in Houston.
Well, it's always.
They want the fans comfortable. They want Jim Palmer comfortable.
And my coat and tie, I thank them very much for that. Actually, I just went pie right now. But again, a very aggressive Tyler Wilson. You know, I was reading, the Orioles are going to Cleveland. We'll arrive there very early on Friday morning after a night game here. I was reading about Josh Tomlin, who ran his record to 7-0. Probably will pitch Sunday against the Orioles. They were talking about how he just threw strikes and used his changeup and his curveball, stayed on the periphery of the strike zone, carved them up, so to speak.
Changeup fouled off 0-2.
That's kind of what Tyler Wilson does. And they both throw about the same. Tomlin, I said, topped out at 91. Talked to Ed Farmer, who actually, former pitcher who broadcast for the White Sox, he said, just change speed, stayed out of the middle of the plate. Great way to pitch, if you can trust your ability to do that. And then he adds a little bit, overthrows it, 92, and he comes right back. Right there, knows what he wants to do, takes a deep breath and ready to pitch. This Valbuena got the big hit last night. The hanging changeup for a 2-run home run. Dangerous hitter if you throw fastballs or hang a breaking ball, because he's one of those guys that spins a lot, and he's a pull hitter with power. 25 home runs last year.
And it turned out the pitch that Chris Tillman said, in his words, was a horrible pitch, was the difference between him winning and not. The ground ball at first, backhanded by Davis. He'll go to the bag unassisted. And Tyler Wilson has a 3-up, 3-down inning. So a strong start for Tyler Wilson, getting those ground balls. Third inning coming up with the O's in front. Inside the numbers, home run rate, at-bats per home run. Of course, Frazier leads the American Leagues in home run, but Trumbo and Machado are right behind with 13. So to get that many home runs, you hit them at a good pace.
Yes, you do. Babe-like numbers. Babe hit a home run every 11, something for all 714 of them.
He was the Babe.
Exactly. There's our Babe.
Babe Trumbo. We'll have to ask him later if we can call him.
No, you can ask him.
All right, I will. Scope fouls are back on the screen. Mark's a good guy.
He's a fabulous guy. But Babe is not. He may not find that a term of endearment.
I don't know. Worked out all right for George Herman.
The Babe, though. See, he was the Babe.
Ooh. Instead of 1-1, it's 0-2 on that pitch. Scope doubled to drive in the run in the first. Machado and Scope led off the game, back-to-back doubles. High fly ball to right center field. Springer will wait, and he's got it for the out. And one away here in the third. On Tuesday, June 7th, the Birds battle Kansas City, 7:05 at Oriole Park. And the first 20,000 fans 15 and over receive an Orioles golf umbrella. Oh, Palmer's going to like that. Presented by Visit Sarasota County. Celebrate summer with a great night out with your family and friends and pick up this colorful new way to show off your orange and black. Good tickets remain, so get your tickets now. Orioles.com or 888-848-BIRD. You could add that to your collection.
To my trunk. Yeah, they crawled their way right back into the race. White Sox have come back to them. Cleveland was tied in the loss column with the White Sox now, and the Royals won back. And the Tigers, they're over 500. Nice little race going on in the American League Central.
The Tigers have won 8 out of 10, and they got better. The final game at Camden Yards. Jones, deep left field. Will it stay fair? Back it goes. It is foul. Just foul down the line. Oh, he crushed it, but he couldn't keep it fair.
Yeah, it just hooks it foul. Good short swing. Maybe a little more out over the plate and stays fair.
And a swing and a miss at a real good breaking ball. So Adam down on strikes and 2 away. That is strikeout number 4.
Another good curveball. Just don't see this pitch very much. Feldman threw it last night. That's where he eventually, on that 9-pitch at bat to Adam Jones with a chance to go ahead in the 12th, struck him out on the same pitch. Because Scott Feldman does have an excellent curveball.
Chris Davis swings through an off-speed pitch.
And like I said, he throws it over 60% of the time. I mean, that's a very, very large percentage to be able to control a slow breaking ball. And if you throw enough of them, you get them to swing it because they think they can hit them. And as long as you stay on top of them and you stay out of the middle of the plate. I mean, we've seen him strike out a number of the Oriole hitters, but when he left from the middle of the plate to Scope, it became a double.
With no one on base, they are shifting against Davis. He lays off the fastball upstairs.
Yeah, I watched Colin McHugh's first game. He went a third of an inning against the Yankees, and he threw 43 pitches in his first start at Yankee Stadium. Never got out of the first. He just wouldn't throw it over. Didn't have this kind of command. Kept nibbling and nibbling and nibbling. They got 3 hits, 6 runs. He threw in a couple of walks, but it was cold. And tonight, as you mentioned, controlled temperature here in Houston.
And Davis down on strikes for a second time tonight. 5 strikeouts already for Colin McHugh. And the Orioles go 3 up, 3 down for the first time in this game. Mid-third in Houston. Davis and the O's with a 1-0 lead. Stat, a LifeBridge Health partner. For locations, visit whywaitinther.com. Well, here's Tyler Wilson in between his starts, and you see he doesn't get regular rest and regular rotation work. 6 days off in between and 7 days off, and even this start he's had 1 extra day, yet it doesn't seem to bother him, and we asked Buck Showalter why.
He's a tough guy mentally, but I think it's more to do with his mechanics of his. You see a guy, when you start thinking about who you might do that with, you do it with somebody that's pretty good mechanically, that doesn't get out of whack, and he does the work in, there's a lot of work in between. But the schedule with the rain and the off days and stuff, there's I'm hoping we can get some consistent stuff for all our guys.
Oh, they will, because they have a lot of makeups. But he's right about the fact that, first of all, you got to understand your windup, you got to be intelligent, you want to have to do the work. Tyler's right up on the list. You can check them all off. Whether it's playing catch and how the ball comes off your hand, or even when you're playing catch in the outfield.
Pulled the bat back somehow. Did not offer on the appeal.
Yeah, that'll make Pedro Alvarez come in a couple of steps.
Well, Tyler as a starter is 2-2. His ERA is 4.40, but that inflated a little bit in the last start when he allowed 5 runs to the Tigers.
Yeah, they score a bunch of runs for him.
Well, it looked like he offered, but pulled the bat back again. 2-1 on Marwin Gonzalez. Tony Kemp will follow, and then Springer. And you see Alvarez pinching in at third, Davis halfway at first. That ball's ripped into right field. That's going to get down and get past Reimold. Plays it off the wall nicely, and Gonzalez puts on the brakes. Outstanding play by Reimold to hold that to a long single.
Well, it's a kind of a predictable result when you throw 90 and you get in the middle of the plate. 2-1. He's looking fastball, and he gets one to hit and just doesn't miss it. I mean, it's pretty much center cut, and it's smoked. Now, the good news is it sits so hard, and Nolan Reimold gets to it very quickly. The throw will be a little bit offline, but of course, Marwin Gonzalez doesn't know that. How quickly you get to it really determines for a lot of base runners whether they're going or not. Kemp got the big hit last night in the 13th, the leadoff triple.
Shows bunt, pulls the bat back. Young man with a lot of speed. He hit it over Adam Jones' head to the deepest part of the ballpark for a triple to lead off the 13th inning. He's a rookie, made his major league debut on May 17th. And he was going to bunt, and again Tyler misses. So 2-0. That's 4 bunt attempts, or at least offering the bunt, and the bat pulled back as the pitch comes in out of the strike zone.
Yeah, he's always been a very, very good hitter. Talking about Tony Kemp, and also, I mean, they said he was the, their best fielder in their organization at second base, but he's playing left field here because they haven't scored as many runs, and they have Altuve in front of him. Not going to be taking his place the way he can play.
And the Astros are last in the league in team batting. They're at 228. They have struck out more than any other team, 456, but no strikeouts so far tonight, which of course in the Tyler Wilson game is not unusual. That time he takes a strike.
That's a little unusual there. And you would think that would be a ball if you're a young hitter. You're just trying to hit into right field. You get your pitch. You saw that he can get up on the high fastball. That's what he hit for the triple off of Dylan Bundy. But you're thinking, how do I create a first and third situation here? Nobody out. It's hard not to score.
And he bunts it back to Wilson. Looks to second, gets it to first, and just in time. And that was a wise move, not trying to get it to second base. There would have been 2 on and nobody out, but he does get an out.
Yeah, you get a slow runner and you get off the mound like Tyler Wilson does. Look how quickly he gets off. Now, if you're slow, which Kemp isn't, you could fake. You could actually throw it to Machado and probably still get the runner. But with Kemp's speed, if you don't quite get him, and This is again, how does your head figure into the decisions you make as a pitcher? You know, a lot of young pitchers would have gone, oh, you know, that's the tying run, and then all of a sudden, if you don't get him, you're talking big inning.
So here is Springer, who reached on an error by Machado, his first at bat. Ball one outside.
But it's nice that the Astros will give you an out early in the ballgame. You only get 27 of them. Earl Weaver used to talk about him, Buck Showalter, most managers. Unless you think you're going to, you're already down by one. Unless you think you're going to win 1-0, it's early in the game. And Tyler's got to settle down and start getting ahead of some of these hitters so he can use all his pitches.
Well, the Astros have used the sacrifice a bit more than the Orioles. That's their 8th. The Orioles still have only 1. Joey Rickard has that, and I still think he may have done that on his own.
Yeah, and it might have also been bunting for a base hit.
And there's the base hit to center field. Jones is charging. Gonzalez coming on. Adam bobbles. There will be no play. And we're tied 1-1. So the Astros manufacture runs, single, sacrifice bunt, single, and it's a 1-1 game in the 3rd.
Yeah, only the the 3rd time the Springers hit lead off, even though he's not leading off in this inning. And they just said he cuts his swing down a little bit. I mean, if you go back and look at the games he's led off over the course of his career, and it's a young career, he's hitting 300. So maybe a little bit more controlled aggression.
Now Tyler has fallen behind all 3 batters in this inning. Kemp helped him out with the bunt. But Marwin Gonzalez singled on a 2-1 pitch, and Springer singled on a 2-0 pitch.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to throw 90 in the middle of the plate and they know it's coming, which is what they can do when you're behind them, at least they can think that, you're not going to have a lot of success. It's not the way the game works. It'd be a little bit different if you were 93 to 97, where you had the really deceptive windup like Chris Tillman throwing the ball downhill like he does.
Love to get a ground ball here. And 1 down in the inning. Breaking ball's a little high. Altuve has a very small strike zone. He was listed at 5'6", 165.
Well, the other thing is he becomes a home run hitter. I mean, we were talking last night about how he's very much like Dustin Pedroia. He just has the ability to swing hard, get the bat on the ball.
There's a good curveball. Ball on a strike. First time Wilson has ever faced the Astros. It's his 4th appearance and 3rd start against the West. And he is 1-1 so far. Coming off a loss last start against Seattle, a West Division team.
As we told you, Springer not a particularly good base stealer, 3 out of 9. Reuters throws well. Wilson gets to the plate pretty quickly. You would think if they're going to try to start, maybe they'll do what they did in the first, which is start the runner.
There have been 7 stolen base attempts against Reuters. He's caught 3, 4 have made it. Pop foul out of play, so the count 1-2 on Altuve. Let's get a look at our Jeep Inside the Numbers on Jose Altuve and where he ranks since 2012, pretty much near the top.
Yes, he does. And, you know, 200 hits last year, 225 the year before. A lot of doubles. Home runs way down. Even though he did hit 15 last year, and already this year he has 9.
Yeah, he is just outside of the league leaders in home runs with those 9. You need 10 to be in the top positions. Fouled off. Altuve just 26 years old. He's already been a 3-time All-Star, a couple of 200-hit seasons.
Yeah, and he's not just a hitter. You talked about how quickly and deftly he was able to turn that double play. It was almost like he Ball never hit his glove. Bill Mazeroski, who's in the Hall of Fame for his ability to turn the double play.
Right center field. That chases Adam Jones way out there. He gets to it. Oh, can he cover some ground, and 2 men are out.
We also get an idea of how strong Jose Altuve is. And he just kind of flicked it. And that ball, I don't know, probably had to go 385. I mean, just one hand down and away, and then he's ball slicing away from Adam, but he runs it down. Springer going halfway, he's not going to be able to tag and get into scoring position.
So Altuve's 0 for 2, still doesn't have a hit in this series. And here's Correa. Correa reached on an error in the first inning. Tyler Wilson keeping Springer close.
Well, he's not going to be running with Correa at the plate. It doesn't mean you ignore him. Well, I wouldn't be too worried about him. I would be more concerned about young Carlos.
And strike one with Correa.
See a lot of fastballs. And part of that is because he's getting behind. If he starts commanding his fastball a little better, you'll see more breaking balls. And he gets the bottom of the strike zone. Correa doesn't like it, but doesn't say one bit about it. Ball definitely low.
It's no balls and 2 strikes on Carlos Correa. Upstairs. And Wallace looking on. Tyler, real good command the first 2 innings. It's eluded him a little bit in this 3rd inning. Astros have a run in. We're tied 1-1.
Well, when you're pitching in max effort, and I talk about 89-90, he has trouble adding, going to another gear, because he really doesn't have that gear. And that's why he has to make really good pitches.
Runner goes. 1-2 is hit back towards Tyler. Funny hop, but he gets it to first, and that will end the inning. So he gets out of it rather inexpensively as the Astros score 1 but strand 1. Our Honda do-ups as we go to the 4th. Mark Trumbo, Matt Wieters, and Pedro Alvarez against Colin McHugh. Orioles baseball is brought to you by the RAV4 Hybrid. All-wheel drive and unexpected performance. Visit buyatoyota.com. Dave Wallace with Tyler Wilson discussing that inning. Showalter began the discussion. And Dave Wallace, the voice of reason.
When they listen to him, yes. Very much so.
Breaking ball for a called strike as Trumbo let it go by. Mark bounced out to third on a swinging bunt. Nice play by Valbuena to end the first.
Yeah, almost got himself an infield hit and an RBI.
That looked better than the first pitch, but it's called a ball. 1-1.
So McHugh goes 19-7 last year. Strikes out 171 in 203 2/3 innings. It's a lot of strikeouts. In Major League Baseball, the most swings and a miss last year was, take a guess, left-handed pitcher for the Dodgers, Kershaw.
Right.
Scherzer right behind him, and then Colin McHugh.
And a swing and a miss there. So Trumbo down on strikes. 6 Ks through 3 1/3.
So there has to be deception. There has to be movement. Started him off with a curveball, came back with a cutter, and then another 86-mile-per-hour cutter. And it looks hittable, but it just doesn't get hit.
And 1 away. McHugh has retired 5 in a row since the 2-out walk to Kim in the second. And Wieters towards the middle. Altuve gloves. The off-balance throw. The bounce, and not in time as Marwin Gonzalez can't get it to stick in his glove.
And I think he also said he was off the base. Greg Gibson, the first base umpire.
And that's an infield hit. So Wieters, how about Wieters, Jim? 5th consecutive multi-hit game.
Well, I'm actually going to call this an outfield hit because look where he is. I don't want Matt to think he's any faster than he really is, but they get the point. Nice play by Altuve. And again, Gonzalez. He goes to backhand and the ball comes up a little bit and he just can't put the leather on it.
1-out single. Alvarez takes a strike. Well, the Orioles in their last 3 games, they won Saturday night on the Wieters 9th inning home run, then lost Sunday and lost last night. They've batted as a team 162 in those 3 games, and the big reason is the increase in the strikeouts. In the 3 games, 40 strikeouts combined, which is 36% of the outs.
Yeah, they're scoring about almost 4.5 runs a game on the year. And that number's gone down lately.
Another swing and a miss. So Pedro goes down on strikes on 3 pitches.
Well, and again, you don't get 3. You know, you got 1 foul ball, and then he comes right back. He throws 3 pitches. He throws them all close enough to get it to chase. They're all different pitches. Big slow curveball. Start him off with a cutter, then went to a changeup, and then comes back to the hook. So you're seeing a right-handed pitcher for the Astros commanding his stuff. And like we said, struggled early. Was 1-3, 3-1 in his last 4 decisions. Coming off a tough 2-1 loss against the Rangers, and they are one of the better hitting teams. Second best runner in scoring position numbers. Only the Red Sox with a higher average and a higher runner in scoring position number in the American League.
Reimold pops it up, shallow right. Altuve and Springer. Altuve says he has it. Basket catch he does, and the inning ends. So an infield hit, 1 left, mid-4th at Minute Maid Park. We have a 1-1 game. Coverage of baseball brought to you by T-Mobile. Well, Jackie Bradley Jr. on it goes. He's extended his hitting streak tonight with a 1-for-3. So 29. So now he's even closer to Joe DiMaggio. He was exactly halfway there at 28. Jake Arrieta allowed 4 runs today in only 5 innings, snapped a streak of 3 runs or less in 29 straight starts, which was the longest since 1893. And Matt Kemp of the Padres last night, he went 2 for 4 with a double, but he hit for the anti-cycle by making an out at every base.
And Arrieta won for the 9th time.
Right.
9-8. Or should I say the Cubs won for Arrieta.
Strike 1 to Rasmus, who swung at the first pitch his first at bat and bounced into an inning-ending double play.
And boy, in a 1-1 ball game, that was a huge at bat. Toss last night, arguing balls and strikes.
And he bunts. Tyler Wilson on it quickly, bobbles, throws, won't get it. He looked up to throw before he had it. Not a real good bunt, but because of the bobble, he beats it out.
Yeah, made an errant throw earlier in the year when he just didn't keep his hands together, and it's pretty routine if you catch it, and he just didn't. It's all you need, close games. And then, of course, what exacerbates the whole situation, it's a leadoff hitter
who can run a little bit. And here's Evan Gattis. Rounded out to Machado, his first at bat. Foul off the mask of Wieters back of the plate.
Yeah, he doesn't take a whole lot of fastballs in the middle of the plate because Evan Gattis. He does not get cheated.
And 0-1 on Gattis, certainly a double play threat. And it's up and in.
Yeah, the guys that run on this team, Altuve with 15 steals, and then Correa with 8. Carlos Gomez, who's on the disabled list with an oblique problem, he's got 5 stones. Marlon Gonzalez 4 out of 6, and 4 steals.
And a little bit low, good take. Evan Gattis, a strong hitter. Where's Gary Pettis, the third base coach? Where is he? I see Rich Dower at first, but where's Mr. Pettis?
Well, he's out of harm's way.
He's way down the line. That's how strong Evan Gattis is.
He also gets a better angle with the runner coming around second, where he is.
That ball's crushed to left field. Back it goes. It's gone. Out of here in a hurry, and the Astros have the lead.
So the Orioles with 3 errors already tonight. And then the 4th one is the 2-1 fastball in the middle of the plate to Evan Gattis. Well, 2nd time through the order, you can, but you just can't get away with pitches. And again, middle of the plate to a home run guy, 27 of them last year. It's a crisp line drive and really short porch out on left here. Fans are happy. So the extra out on the error by Wilson gives him a 2-run lead.
And the extra base runner scores. Still nobody out. Here's Tyler White. And on the appeal, he did not swing. Off the glove of Alvarez and into left field for a base hit.
Yeah, Machado was probably going to catch this ball. I'm not sure he's going to throw him out because it'll hit the edge of the glove, and then Manny overruns it because it goes off the glove of Alvarez. Thought he could catch it, couldn't. All it did was a deflection. So Machado probably would have caught the ball, but he would have been so deep in left, I don't know, almost running into left field. I don't think he could have thrown out Tyler White.
Well, the Orioles scored in the first, and they had a runner at third with one down. Couldn't get the second run in. Then they stranded two more in the second. And now the Astros, off the manufactured run in the third, two-run home run here in the fourth, have the lead. Here's Valbuena. Called strike on the fastball. Valbuena bounced out to Chris Davis at first, his first at bat.
Of course, that same ball might be a base hit now with Davis holding him on. Hit sharply.
Popped up the changeup. Leaders coming back, hoping for a play, and he runs out of room. It's one row back. So Valbuena gets a break. Very little room from home plate to the grandstand here behind home plate. So the fans are right in the action there behind the screen. And Wilson gets ahead 0-2. Still nobody out in this inning. And he won't chase. Down and in with a breaking ball throw behind the runner, and getting back in, and just getting back in is Tyler White.
Yeah, little cut fastball inside, so it's a great angle for Matt Wieters to throw, and he does. And then you're a little bit closer from where I was sitting until you really see it. Got back. And of course, it was a good slide back in with a hand because he went to the outfield side, so it's a longer tag for Chris Davis.
2-2 foul back. The 3 errors for the Orioles in this game is a season high in one game. Twice before they've had 2 error games. April 11th at Boston, a game the Orioles won. And then April 30th at home against the White Sox, a game the White Sox won. Very uncharacteristic of this team. 3 errors in one game. Bouncer to first. Davis has it. Goes to second out there. Manny back to first and out. Oh, it's off the glove of Wilson.
Oh, there's another error.
Tyler just flat out missed it.
Well, you get over there, you practice it all spring, and then, of course, game time, it's, you know, this is not spring training. So nice play by Davis. He clears the runner, and then Machado with plenty of time. He just dropped it. Error number 4.
I do not believe they'll charge an error.
Yes, they will, because he was out. Can't assume it, but if you drop a throw, I would be very surprised. I mean, how do you not assume that that guy was out? He was out by 2 steps, and you dropped the ball. Now, maybe I'm wrong. You can't assume a double play. I think you could have assumed that one. I think what happens if a fielder gets a fielder's choice, but
well, you are right, because there's a 4th error on the scoreboard. So not only is there another error, that's 4 errors in this game. Instead of 2 outs and the base is empty, still only 1 out and a runner on.
Who hit a screamer down the right field line on a 2-0 fastball the first time up.
The Orioles certainly in this game, although McHugh has really settled in. He's retired 7 of the last 8 batters. Only Wieters' infield single getting in the way of retiring all the batters. Popped up wide of third. That's going to be back in the crowd out of play.
And the other factor is the pitch count Talking about Tyler Wilson, very efficient with his pitches. A little over 15 per inning. So here he is with only 1 out in the 4th, and the pitch count already at 58.
It's 0-2 on Marwin Gonzalez. Swing and a miss. He got him with a changeup. Good idea there by Wieters to get the hitter off the fastball, and Wilson threw a good one.
Well, you saw how high a percentage he's been throwing. So not only does he throw it, he executes it well because he doesn't overthrow it. See Gonzalez just a little wave. Yeah, if I'm Tyler Wilson and I know I'm young and I know I'm pitching, but when I get back on the bench, I just kind of sit and watch the way Colin McHugh throws, because he changes his speeds. You just never know what's really coming, and Tyler's capable of doing that.
And another base hit. This one off the bat of Tony Kemp.
But if you're going to live in the middle of the plate, you're going to have results like this, especially if you or your defense doesn't play well. Dave Wallace is going to come out. He's going to say, hey, use all your pitches. And if you use all your pitches, you'll get a little bit better feel for making better pitches with your fastball. Because the Orioles are very aware, Dave Wallace, Dom Cheedy, Buck Showalter, that Tyler Wilson has to pitch. Tonight he's thrown a little bit. But again, if he gets another out, you're still only 2 runs down.
Right.
Yeah, so that's why Dave Wallace goes out there.
Well, the 2 errors by Wilson have prolonged this inning. It's cost him at least 1 run. Rasmus reached on the first of the 2 errors by Wilson, and he scored on the Gaddis home run. And now here's a dangerous hitter, Springer, with 2 men on and 2 men down.
Yeah, the one thing we haven't seen from George Springer, he's got a lot of power. And he airs it out. He got 3 hits last night. Today already 1, and then reached on the error.
Springer is 1 out of 2. He reached on a Machado error in the first. Vicious cut, but he fouled it off. This is a strange game. Three to 1 game, 5 hits for the Astros, 4 for the O's, and 4 errors on that scoreboard on the Orioles side. Manny's got 2, and Tyler Wilson has 2. So 4 errors in the game. Last time, September 30th of last year, 4 in a game against the Blue Jays. Springer keeps stepping out. A little bit low. Looked like it had the plate. In that game against the Blue Jays, Machado had a throwing error. Davis had a throwing error. Jason Garcia had a throwing error. And Junior Lake, who was then with the Orioles, had a fielding error.
How'd that game end up?
4-error game.
Can't imagine it went well for the Orioles against Toronto.
Orioles won it 8. Oh, excuse me, they lost it 15-2. It was a doubleheader. I looked on the wrong line. There were 2 games that day.
Well, great pitch right there, because Springer's looking for something that they've hit hard all night, which is fastballs in the middle of the plate. And then once you throw it 3-1, let's put a little doubt in George Springer's mind.
So the runners on the move, 3-2 with 2 down. It's been a long inning for Tyler Wilson. There they go, and the 3-2 is swung on and hit weakly to the left side. Alvarez bobbles, picks it up, fires, and Davis somehow keeps his foot on the bag, and the Orioles finally get out of the inning. That was nearly another error on the Orioles. But Alvarez made the play. Astros get the lead on the home run by Gaddis. We head to the 5th in a 3-1 game. Orioles baseball on Masson is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. And by your Baltimore BMW centers. Visit BaltimoreBMW.com today for exceptional offers. Downtown Houston, there's construction going on all over this part of downtown near the ballpark, near the Orioles team hotel. Colin McHugh, after allowing a run just 2 batters into the game, has really settled in. Orioles have left 4 men on, and he has 7 strikeouts in 4 innings.
Yeah, the Orioles have made 12 outs and 7 of them strikeouts, and the biggest one is the Davis strikeout in the first, with a runner at third and a run in already, and only 1 out.
Kim takes ball 1. He walked his first at bat. Another good take.
Well, they had a long inning, and we're hoping that maybe pitch count, as you can see, it's 67. Maybe that'll have some effect.
That ball's ripped to the corner. Kim is thinking 2. And he heads to second base with a leadoff double. His second double in the big leagues.
Does that look familiar?
2-0 pitch.
Yeah, starting pitcher getting behind. You look for your pitch. I mean, that's really what Buck Showalter, Scott Coolbaugh, the Oriole hitting instructor, talk about. I've never seen a hitter or a hitting instructor yet that says, hey, look for your pitch 2-0. If you get it, put a good swing on it. This is exactly what he does.
Swings like that might get you more playing time. And here's Manny, who's in the leadoff spot tonight. Doubled and scored in the first, 1 out of 2. Slow curve for a strike. Machado a peek back at the umpire, Jordan Baker. Weak swing, and it's 0-2.
Yeah, a little cutter, slider. Yeah, he's so, you know, that curveball's bothering him. It's so slow, but it breaks. Don't let the let the miles per hour fool you. The spin is extremely tight. Doesn't stay in the same place very long.
Checked, and on the appeal, yep, denied. There's the crew chief, Greg Gibson. This umpiring crew was in San Francisco over the weekend for the Cubs-Giants series. And as we were flying here from Anaheim watching that game, I recalled seeing this umpiring crew, and here they are. They followed the Orioles. Jordan Baker behind the plate. He's so tall you can't miss him. A 1-2 on Machado with Kim at second base. Another check swing and another ball in the dirt.
Yeah, another play. Nice job by Evan Gaddis. Just a curved ball that he blocks.
Play Machado to hit it the other way in the outfield. And he got him. So Manny strikes out for a second time tonight. There's the 8th K and a big out. He does not advance the runner.
Yeah, he just doesn't get a pitch to hit. And they're really messing with him. No, he's a good fastball hitter, and then you got a pitcher out there that can cut it, turn it over. Got the big slow curveball, and then it gets in your head. You saw what happened when he got the fastball, 2-0 fastball. He hit it up the gap for a double the first time up.
Well, here's Scope. Fouls it off. John in the number 2 spot tonight.
And then if you're Jonathan Scope, you're sitting on kneeling on deck, and you're going, boy, he's going to mess with him. And then what do? You get a first pitch fastball to maybe do something with it. You're late on it because he throws it right by you. You're not looking for it.
Big run out there at second base. Swing and a miss.
And he turns it over a little bit. McHugh can pitch. 11 wins the year before last, 19 last year, which I guess maybe we win that many games. 12-3 at home, 7-4 on the road. Really pitched well here. ERA of 3.73 runs per game.
And another strikeout.
And then right up the ladder at 90.
9 strikeouts for McHugh. So the leadoff double. Kim out there, still 2 down.
You can see, look what Gaddis does with the glove. Just puts it up there, and now if you take this pitch, it's a ball. And you need Adam Jones to pick up the preceding 2 hitters.
Adam is 0 for 2. He grounded out to first base on a great play by Gonzalez in the first inning, then struck out in the third. Up and away. Machado has struck out twice. Davis has struck out twice. Alvarez has struck out twice. 9 Ks through 4 2/3. And a good take. Ball 2. Every team goes through stretches like this over the course of a year, like the Orioles are in now. I mean, even with the hitting going so cold the last 3 games, they're still 12-8 in May, and that's the 6th best record in the major leagues. And a pop-up, so the leadoff double is going to be wasted. Springer in right, and he's got it for the out. So Kim doubled, leading off the 5th. He's left stranded at second base. Mid-5th in Houston, 3-1 Astros. .com/vote orange to vote for the 2016 All-Star Game. If you vote at least 5 times and select the O's as your favorite team, you'll be entered to win an All-Star Game jersey signed by the Orioles All-Stars. And if you vote at least 20 times and select the O's, you'll receive a promo code for a buy one get one ticket offer for any game in the July series Interleague Baseball against Colorado. Vote early, vote often, vote orange. Orioles.com/vote orange today. Tyler Wilson back to work in a 7-batter 4th inning, 24 pitches. First ball swinging is Altuve. Thank you very much. Chris Davis in foul ground. Has it for the out. So dangerous hitter retired on 1 pitch.
Yeah, a little curveball that he pops up. And I'm sure Dave Wallace said, hey, start using all your pitches. And there are nights when, even if you're a command guy, and that's what Tyler Wilson is, that your fastball is going to end up in the middle of the plate, and he's gotten in trouble. Again, if he doesn't make the error on a routine little ball right back to him, it's 2-1. So just use them all and take your chances. And a couple of quick innings, and you're into the 7th inning with a chance to maybe win.
And a strike to Correa. I think it shows you something about Tyler Wilson, that despite that terrible 4th inning for the Orioles, he still only allowed the 2 runs and he kept his team in the game. Only 1 of the 4 errors has actually hurt on the scoreboard. That was the Rasmus error. The other error is prolonged innings that added to pitch counts. A little bit low on the off-speed pitch.
Well, what he was able to do is get back on the bench. That's not always easy to do for inexperienced pitchers. After you give up a couple of runs and you give up the home run, you make an error, actually 2 errors.
Ripped up the middle. Scope is there. And he will throw out Correa. Oh, that was so close to Tyler Wilson's head. Jordan Baker, the umpire, looking out. I'm saying, you okay? And he said, yeah.
Well, this is going to be the angle that's going to show you how quickly the ball can get back. Get down. A little change up, and he smokes it. Even it seems like Carlos's Correa's outs are usually hit pretty well.
And Scope makes the play towards the middle, and here's Rasmus. First ball swinging and a foul ball. Will be Rasmus' 2nd year with the Astros. They expected him to leave as a free agent. And they extended the qualifying offer so they could get a draft pick, and to their surprise he accepted because it doubled his salary. He was on a 1-year $8 million contract last year, and the qualifying offer $15.8.
Yeah, the Orioles were very much interested in going into the 2015 season.
And if I remember right, Buck Showalter even went to visit him.
So that's what, about $24 million for 2 years. That's 12 million a year. To get by on that.
I know I could. I don't know about you with your bi-coastal lifestyle and all. What do you got, about 4 homes now?
You're counting the trailer?
That's where you keep your stuff.
Well, it's funny. I mean, we talk about, and I'm joking because, the players make what they make, and that's just the way it is. But Tom Cheedy was talking about, he went to see Colby Rasmus, and he actually lives in a farm, and, he's a hunter, and, an outdoor type of guy. Doesn't want to live in the city. So I'm sure he's very, he was part of a team that went to the division series last year, an integral part of it. Houston, I mean, they exceeded everybody's expectations. There is Don Cheedy. So he said, listen, he went down and talked to him, and I'm sure it was part of maybe getting him signed with the Orioles. He took him out, saw the ponds, and
Strike 3 called as he paints the outside corner. So a 3-up, 3-down inning for Tyler Wilson. Second time tonight. Going in order are the Astros. Our Chevy do-ups, Chris Davis, Mark Trumbull, and Matt Wieters. The O's are down by 2. Orioles Baseball on Masson is brought to you by PNC Bank for the Achiever in you, and by American Standard Heating and Air. It's their all-star sales event with up to $1,100 in instant rebates or 0% APR for 36 months. Time for Jim Palmer's mid-game snack.
Oh, look at that, nitrates.
Jumbo dogs. Oh, they're feverishly working down there. Those are Texas-sized hot dogs.
Oh, Nolan Ryan beef.
Davis swings through it 0-1. Chris is 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts. And fouls it off. Well, you can join the fun on Facebook to win a meet and greet with Chris Davis and other prizes during our first virtual watch party. Tune into the game this Thursday and join the event discussion for tons of chances to win. Details and RSVP at facebook.com/Masson Orioles. You don't want to miss it. Nine strikeouts for Colin McHugh.
Boy, has he used all his pitches tonight. Moved them around, changed speeds, elevated, added, subtracted. It's just a show me fastball up and away. And again, the ability to throw with 2 strikes the ball that you think is close enough to a strike but doesn't end there.
Chris with a patient at bat works the count to 2-2. Orioles still in this game, down by a pair. And got a piece to stay alive. Boston is winning again, 7-3 at home against Colorado.
Well, they are an offensive juggernaut.
They are now.
Well, they're averaging almost 6 runs a game. And they played, this will be their 46th game. It's a lot of runs. 264 coming in.
Times the breaking ball to get a piece of it, and weak foul ball, and it stays alive.
Yeah, there was an article in Wall Street Journal that David Ortiz, at age 40, his swan song year as he's retiring, is on a pace for 102 extra base hits.
You think they might encourage him to come back?
Would you really have to if you had that kind of year?
And the count full, so 3-2. This will be the 9th pitch coming up in this at bat to Chris Davis. Ripped into the corner. He hung a breaking ball, and Davis didn't miss it. So a 9-pitch at bat and a leadoff single for Chris.
Well, you kind of get a message there, I mean, to all the other hitters, that if you are a little bit more discerning early on and then you go to 3-2, he's going to have to throw the curveball for a strike instead of throwing it from a strike to a ball. And look what happens when he throws one in the zone. Scope hit one for a double. Davis hit it for a single. And so again, know what you want to hit until you get the 2 strikes and make him throw it over. Orioles have not done a very good job of that tonight, nor last night.
Trumbo looks over ball 1. Mark is 0 for 2. Grounded out to third on a nice play by Valbuena, and then struck out in the 4th. So Davis snaps his 0 for 11. He is 3 out of 20 on the trip. There's a base hit to left field. Another hanger. Davis makes the turn. He's going to head to third. The ball is misplayed by Kemp, and that will allow Trumbo to get to second base easily. So back-to-back hits, and here come the O's in the 6th.
Yeah, he plays a single into a double. Does not have a very good throwing arm because he's a second baseman. So he takes the first pitch, which is right off the corner. Then he gets a little cutter in the middle of the plate. Now you're in business. And then Kemp just overruns it, and then a very weak throw coming in.
So second and third, runners in scoring position with nobody down. And here comes Brent Strom, the pitching coach.
Yeah, I would imagine that's an error too, because it gives the Orioles an extra base. And if it is, that'll be what, 5 errors tonight.
And it is a single and an E7. Let's get a look at our Coons League leaders, brought to you by Coons.com. Over 2 million vehicles sold and counting. Well, this is something the Orioles have done very well on the year, Jim, hit with runners in scoring position.
Right, but the 287 at bats with the runners in scoring position, fewest in the major leagues. Yeah, the Red Sox, we told you about their, I mean, again, almost 6 runs a game, and they're hitting as a team 297. Nishek, who we saw last night, didn't come in the game. What, 2 or 3 of their pitchers that didn't pitch last night.
And here's one of the hot hitters in the Orioles lineup up, Matt Wieters.
Well, because of the scoreboard, they're going to play back on the right side. So, I mean, if he would hit a ground ball to second base, you're going to get your second run. The runner will move to third, and we would see how A.J. Hinch would actually play his defense.
Good take. You could see the difference in how Wieters is taking pitches versus how some of his teammates are, as he is locked in. Our Jeep inside the numbers. Runners in scoring position tonight. The Orioles certainly have had their chances.
Yeah, 2 for 9 last night, as you mentioned, and then the Astros in 13 innings were 2 for 10.
And neither of the Orioles hits drove in a run. Foul ball off his foot. The Wieters with a 2-hit game tonight, so he's hit 6 in a row. He's 13 for his last 23, and he's got 5 consecutive multi-hit games. And the pitches that don't look good, he's just letting go by.
It's kind of the way you hit.
Confident right now.
Yeah. Well, we've seen him hit the ball to left field. We've seen him pull the ball. I mean, hitting better from this side of the plate because he hasn't had many at bats from the other side. He's in much better rhythm in his swing. Yeah, step on that swing. Got him way out front. .73 miles per hour. See, that's the one that starts in the zone and goes to a ball. He couldn't do that to Chris Davis because if he had taken it, would have been a leadoff walk, and he ended up singling into right field.
And he just got a piece to stay alive. Well, the Orioles got the leadoff double last inning. Not only didn't score, did not even advance Kim off second base, as McHugh got back-to-back strikeouts of Machado and Scope, and then Jones flied out to shallow right. But a good chance here to get even with Davis at third and Trumbo at second, and nobody out. And he got him. Gaddis will have to throw to first to get Wieters. There's another big strikeout from McHugh. That's 10 strikeouts on the night. That is some kind of breaking ball.
Well, it really is. And again, the ability to get ahead early, and then he just could pitch out of the zone. This goes down, and Matt chases.
So 1 out. Runners have to hold, and here's Alvarez, who's had a tough night. Borderline pitch and a called strike.
Well, again, you've made 16 outs and 10 of them via the strikeout. It's hard to advance runners, hard to move runners, hard to get runners in.
Pedro 0 for 2 with a couple of Ks. Nothing in 2.
Yeah, the season high was for Colin McHugh was his last game, and that was in 7 innings against the White Sox. Struck out 8. 7 all the way back on the 16th of April against the Tigers.
Gets away from Gaddis. Here comes Davis to the plate, and he will score. So it's a 1-run game, and Trumbo to third, and the Orioles get a break.
Well, McHugh's lucky that Davis didn't take him out. Now, he's waiting at home plate, and I mean, you'll see right here, curveball, great base running by Chris Davis, and then right here, I mean, you can see him get out of the way, but boy, you are fair game. And then finally, I think he realized he might have hurt the footsteps. So now they're going to bring their infield in, and McHugh's going to throw another slow breaking ball in the dirt. Maybe not on this pitch, but try to strike out Alvarez.
And he bounces it, but this time Gaddis able to keep it close to him.
Yeah, he's had a nice day or night behind the plate. He has smothered most of the breaking balls, and he has bounced the curveball, and that's allowed him to be successful.
So from 0-2 to 2-2 on Pedro, trying to get that tying run in here in the 6th. And a chopper, the runner coming home. Gonzalez turns, throws to first. Safe at first is Alvarez. And we are tied at 3. The hesitation by Gonzalez cost him an out.
And I don't know if McHugh got hurt or not. I mean, it was a freaky play. Like, he tries to get over there. He loses his glove.
That's going to be an infield hit and an RBI for Alvarez, and we're back even.
Yeah, he tries to buzz a fastball by him, and right here, and there the glove gets knocked over by Marwin Gonzalez. And then I don't know, again, I mean, there's your collision by Gonzalez to McHugh, and then he tries to barehand it.
So that'll do it for Colin McHugh, and the Orioles certainly are happy about that. The Birds get the first 2 on. They come around the score, and they have the go-ahead run on at first base with 1 man down. Our Jiffy Lube pitching change is brought to you by Jiffy Lube, where participating stores now do brake services. Stop in and let Jiffy Lube inspect your brakes today. Chris Davis and the O's are back even.
Actually pitched very well through the first 5, running the first inning, and then all of a sudden a series of bad pitches, some bad luck, an error, an infield hit, and he will leave now with the potential losing run as Pat Neshek comes on. Sinker slider pitcher, and again last pitched on Sunday, gave up a double to Fielder and a home run to Mazara. Again, Nomar Mazara, the young outfielder from Venezuela. So you can see right-handers very tough. Lefties hit it better. And again, 60 games last, actually 66 games last year after pitching in 71 games a year before for the Cardinals.
Check swing, and it's a called strike anyway, so Reimold down in the count quickly, 0-2.
No, he could sink it, and he's got a good slider. I mean, not overpowering, but again, very deceptive. A little bit more of a ground ball pitcher than Darren O'Day, who throws from a similar arm slot for the Orioles.
And he strikes him out. 3-pitch strikeout. So Reimold, his first official at bat against Neshek, strikes out.
So the 11th strikeout of the evening.
Yoon-Soon Kim now will face Neshek. Kim has had a nice night. He worked a walk in the second to get 2 on with 2 out. And then he doubled leading off in the 5th, but was left stranded.
Yeah, right-handed batters 2 for 32 now off of Pat Neshek.
Strike 1. Kim seeing Neshek for the first time, wanted to look him over.
Actually pitched for the Orioles back in 2012 down at AAA Norfolk. 35 games.
And it's low.
He even has a Stu Miller neck jerk on the changeup as he came up and really had some outstanding years with Minnesota and the Tommy John surgery.
Well, this inning, a good example of why putting the ball in play is so important. Pedro Alvarez really was fooled by the pitch, but he made contact, put it in play, and it ended up being a swinging bunt base hit to drive in a run. Davis got a hanger. Trumbo got a hanger. They put it in play. Maryland Live Casino inside the numbers. Come from behind wins. The Orioles have more than any team in the American League. If they win this, it'll be their 15th.
It's a new lottery. Got to put it in play to win. Well, it's one of my tweets tonight.
Really?
Put it in play.
Somehow I missed that. And I rarely miss your tweets.
Well, it was a very late tweet.
Foul straight down at the plate. Kim just got a piece. Alvarez on at first. His infield hit got Trumbo in with the tying run, so we're back even. Trumbo snapping an 0 for 18 with his base hit this inning. Davis snapped an 0 for 11. And there's another base hit, and that ball's ripped. Alvarez is heading to third base as Springer gets to it and quickly gets it back in. Nobody covering second base, so Kim has his second double. Wow, 2 pulled base hits for Kim with authority.
Yeah, 1 with 2 strikes. Just a little breaking ball speeds the bat up, and then he hits a BB. Yeah, fast outfield here. Springer, of course, is going to make a great play because if he gets by him, they're probably going to score a run. And not only does he get to it, he makes a snap throw. So let's see. Right-handers 2 for 32, and Manny the double, and then the couple of strikeouts. Boy, this is going to be a challenging at bats, and they're going to walk him.
So they're going to take their chances on Scope, who's on deck.
Oh, you pick. I mean, Scope actually has been as hot as Machado over the last 10 days, but over the course of the season, Manny with really not that many RBIs more than Scope, but 2 coming in.
Yeah, Manny is 27, Scope is 26.
25, yeah.
with his RBI tonight. Yeah. Well, Machado's 1 for 4 against Neshek. Scope has never faced him. Yeah. So Manny, despite his slump, has now been walked intentionally in back-to-back games. Whereas last night it was because of a double by Rickard to set up a double play, and here it's just strategy to go after a less experienced hitter.
Right, and it sets up a forced play with 2 outs. And then you don't have to talk to the press in case Machado gets a hit. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. But, yeah, I understand what A.J. Hinch is thinking about.
And a bloop towards the middle, and there's Correa, and that's going to end the inning. So Scope, first ball swingy. Sounded like he broke his bat, but a productive inning for the Orioles. They get back even. Wilson back to work in a 3-3 game. April 9th has been rescheduled as game 1 of a separate admission day-night doubleheader on Saturday, June 25th at 1:05. Now, the tickets marked April 9th will be honored for the new 1:05 game, and the day's originally scheduled game, which was at 4:05, now has been moved to 7:05 as game 2 of the twin bill. So day-night doubleheader, June 25th, game 1 1:05, game 2 7:05. For all the ticketing information, visit Orioles.com or call 888-848-BIRD. So Tyler Wilson now back even at 3, comes out for the 6th. And a big swing and a foul off the chest protector, Matt Wieters, from Evan Gattis. There's Giles, who's been pitching lights out.
Yeah, I talked to some advanced scouts today, and they said they had not seen the breaking ball that we saw last night from Kent Giles as good as it was. It was a nice little breaking ball, and they get the call.
Well, they got those hard throwers out there in the bullpen. Gattis just does get a piece of that. So in a tie game heading to the 7th, Giles, who is one of the setup men, he was acquired to be the closer, but pitched his way out of that role.
Well, they struck out 16 in 7 1/3 scoreless innings last night. That's how good that pen was.
And a real good breaking ball gets Gattis.
Yeah, you have to get into the counts that you can throw that pitch unless you're going to pitch backwards, and we've seen him do it on other occasions. So, you know, you get ahead, you just throw it off the corner. That's the breaking ball you work on your side sessions, the one you want to throw just out of the strike zone. It makes a great pitch. You know, the same guy that hit the home run off you. You just didn't get into a fastball count, didn't throw him a fastball, you made your pitch.
Down and in 1-0 on Tyler White.
Yeah, that was a strike, but the way Matt Wieters caught it or didn't catch it. Cost him a strike one. Almost looked like he got crossed up.
Fly ball in center field. A lot of room out there for Adam Jones. And on the warning track, he has it for the out.
Yeah. Sod
and
fan.
2 men down.
Another sod farm ball in Baltimore.
Well, here's our PNC Bank MASNsports.com blog recap. Well, Steve Molesky on how Asher Tolliver found out about his call-up. Steve Molesky, who's here with the Orioles in Houston, the 3 pitchers that the Orioles have acquired this week. And Rock Tobacco, Pat Connaughton of the Portland Trailblazers has reported to extended spring training. He still remains under Orioles control, even though he decided to try the NBA first. I really love Connaughton's arm.
But he still wants to play basketball.
Our PNC MASNsports.com blog update. Here's Valbuena. Tyler's retired 6 in a row.
Oh, he's done the. I mean, first of all, he gives up the 2-run home run back in the 4th, but he makes 2 errors in that inning. And they also add a couple of base hits, but he gets out of the inning. Safe haven on the bench. And then the Orioles come back and tie it up. It was a quick inning to. Right now, I mean, let's see, pitch count at 85, so that's well in hand. We talked about that a couple innings ago. If he can just settle down, has a chance to get into the 7th. Just want to stay away from the inside middle. Valbuena's looking for a ball to drive.
Left field, he got a lot of it. Reimold is back, and that ball is gone. It carries out over the 25-foot wall the opposite way. And the Astros regain the lead at 4-3.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was going to carry that far. Got it up and out over the plate. So home runs. 2 of them on back-to-back nights. Looks like it's going to get down below the line and just, what, about 3 feet above it?
Yep, right onto the concourse.
Yeah, the fan with the sombrero muffed it.
So after the Orioles tied it and left the bases loaded, the Astros come right back. Marwin Gonzalez now with 2 outs and the bases empty. Breaking ball in the dirt. Orioles have left 8 men on in their first 6 at-bats. And for a 3rd time in the series have stranded the bases loaded. Speed breaking ball for a strike. So Tyler Wilson has allowed 4 runs, 3 of those earned on 6 base hits. And he's allowed 2 home runs in this game, driving in 3 of the 4 Astros runs. Not in front of the curveball, so it's 1-2. Craig Biggio before the game commenting that this is a left-handed batter's ballpark because you could hook it out to right and the ball carries well to left center field, and we certainly saw it there. Breaking ball appeal, he went too far. That's strike 3 on Marwin Gonzalez, and the inning ends, but not before the Astros get the lead back as Luis Valbuena goes the opposite way against Tyler Wilson, hits it out to deep left center field. His 5th home run of the year. Will head to the 7th, 4-3 Houston. Brought to you by PNC for the Achiever in you, and Andy Oliver putting together a good year at AAA Norfolk, and they've moved him into the rotation. They're stretching him out a little bit.
Well, yeah, he was a starter coming up. Of course, he was selected by Detroit, he was second round pick back in 2009, so he has a pretty good arm. And then Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Tampa, and then the Orioles as a minor league free agent. So again, started early on. He struck out a lot of people. Tyler Wilson will get a congratulation, trails by a run. And then the Astros, they go to Ken Giles, a powerful right-handed pitcher. We saw him last night. Fastball, curveball, 95.6. They said he has hit 100 on occasion. High ERA because he gave up 10 runs in 11 appearances early on in April. And as you mentioned, they thought he might take Luke Gregerson's spot as the closer. But I think they'll be very happy if he can set up to get to him.
Here's Adam Jones to face him. Breaking ball, expected fastball, didn't get it. Well, the Astros traded 5 players to get Giles, so they expected him to be a key man in the back end of that bullpen. They also got another player back. It was a 5 for 2.
Well, that sounds like what you do to get a starter. So, what we've been talking about how the Orioles have struggled and a lot of strikeouts, and I find it very intriguing that you always have your meetings and you always have your pitching staffs, and some pitching staffs can execute your pitches. Lately, and the Orioles have kind of helped it, the people they're facing are executing their pitches.
Ooh, he checked in time. That looked close.
So they go, well, is Adam Jones a better fastball hitter? Where's his strength? It's a fastball, middle of the plate to out. Better high ball hitter, and there's what they were talking about. Yeah. And how do you want to pitch to him? Well, you want to get him out with breaking balls. Now, if you can do it, and the teams they face lately can do that, and they have power arms, they can get away with more mistakes, and they've been able to do what they want to do. You can't throw a better breaking ball than that. Now, he's not letting the ball travel, and he's gotten way out in front of it, and he's already gone. So, when you talk to most hitting instructors, they say, well, when you get to 2 strikes, you let the ball travel, you trust your swing away, and you try to look outside part of the plate. And then a guy makes a pitch like that, and even if you were trying to do it, it didn't look like that was the case.
Vance Worley now getting loose. Ball 1 to Chris Davis. Chris had a big single to get that rally going in the 6th inning. A 9-pitch at bat. So he is 1 out of 3, snapped an 0 for 11 with that base hit.
'97. From what I saw last night, their philosophy, maybe they won't end with a Wade Davis, it was very much like Kansas City, where they're going to have some powerful guys, and that's why Giles was so important to them. As we mentioned last night, they had one of the lowest velocity bullpens in the major leagues. That's changed with him out there. And A.J. Hinch, former catcher, he knows how important it is when you can strike people out, especially if you come on with it, any runners on, and you need the punch out.
Davis gets ahead 3-1. Bucks team down by a run.
So let's see if he gets a fastball to hit. When a guy throws 97, that's what you're hitting off.
Well, 3-1 on Davis, 1 out, nobody on. And it's upstairs, ball 4, and there's a 1-out walk. So the Orioles get the tying run on with 1 down in the 7th. The Orioles are back home at Camden Yards on Memorial Day Monday. That's May 30th. They begin a 4-game series with the division rival Red Sox after the Memorial Day matinee game at 1:35. The O's and Red Sox then will battle Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights at 7:05. So coming out and help us paint that ballpark orange for the showdown for first place in the AL East. For your tickets, Orioles.com or call 888-848-BIRD.
There's 7 games against the Red Sox in the month of June. There's 98, and he had a pretty good swing. It's just hard to get on 98. Certainly tried.
Trumbo singled in the rally in the 6th. Hooked it into the left field corner, and they are playing him to hit it towards the gap in left field.
No, they don't think he can pull Ken Giles. And they're swung way around, and Davis doesn't go. Wow. Must not have seen it.
Yeah, it looked like he lost sight of it, and if you hesitate, it's better off that you don't go. So a break for the Astros there. Orioles bullpen. Darren O'Day has now joined Vance Worley with the watchful eye of Dom Chidi. So it looks like what Buck has in mind, O'Day if the O's tie or get the lead, Worley if it stays 4-3. And a good cut.
Yeah. Nice late finish to that fastball. And 15 saves for the Phillies last year.
Giles is from New Mexico. He pitched in junior college at Yavapai Junior College in Arizona, which is one of the top junior college programs in the nation.
It's a holding tank for the big leagues.
Yep. Davis on at first. They're playing Trumbo to hit it the other way. 2-2 the count. And he got under it and popped it sky high. Gaddis coming back, can't find it, but Valbuena's got it at third base. Gaddis had no idea where that ball is. And Valbuena stuck with it for the out and 2 men down.
Well, you haven't been catching a whole lot, and the ball goes straight up. You take the mask off, and I would imagine it's hard if you don't see it right away, and catchers don't. Ooh. I mean, right here doesn't know where it is. He thinks it's somewhere. There goes the mask, and it's way down the third base line. Valbuena had no problem.
Now wait a minute. Why is Trumbo still up? Did that hit something?
It might have.
It may have deflected back on the field. Maybe that's why Gaddis couldn't find it. Maybe it hit something and came back onto the playing field. So Trumbo has life. Inside, ball 3. See if Davis runs. 3-2 with 1 down. He does not. And a swing and a miss. They blew it by him. 2 retired now here in the Orioles 7th.
Yeah, 97, high rider.
So 13 strikeouts now by Astros pitching. Here's Wieters, who is 2 for 3 with a strikeout, a couple of singles. Ground ball foul wide of third. He just missed shooting it down the line for a base hit. Chris Davis, a 1-out walk. He's on at first now with 2 men down. Strike called on an off-speed pitch.
Yeah, another curveball, and a good one.
They are not pitching in this series like the 13th pitching staff in the American League, which they came in tonight. And another strikeout. So Giles strikes out the side around the 1-out walk to Chris Davis. And the Orioles done in the 7th. 7th inning stretch in Houston, 4-3 Astros.
Take a look at our Geico highlights. Early lead by the Orioles, but here come the Astros. Springer with a base hit. They'll tie it 1 apiece. And then later on, right here, Tyler Wilson. Looks like he's going to catch it. Makes an error and makes another error later in the inning, and then got us with his 5th home run, a screamer 2-run shot to make it 3-1. And the Orioles runners at 2nd and 3rd. Wild pitch. There's Davis. With a base hit, had walked, he would score the 2nd run, and then an infield hit by Alvarez. A very unusual game tonight. A lot of different plays. Those are your Geico highlights. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. Car insurance, visit geico.com for a free rate book. So Vance Worley comes on. Fastball, cutter, slider, occasional curveball. Last pitch against the Angels out in Anaheim. So a lot of strikeouts, which is unusual. I mean, no discernible difference. Pretty much 50-50. Fly ball or ground ball.
Ball 1 to Tony Kemp. Worley as a reliever has been in 9 games and he has not allowed a run. He began the year in the rotation. And a called strike.
Yeah, he's got an unusual delivery. Tom Cheedy, the bullpen pitching coach, said he's almost like he kind of pole vaults over his front side. So it's, you know, a big guy, ball's moving all over the place. Not a hard thrower. You know, right around 89, 90, but movement. We'll take a look at Tyler Wilson. And more breaking balls as the game progressed. I think Valbuena, I'm not sure if he had a home run. It might have another changeup. There might have been back-to-back nights where he hit a changeup, one off Tillman, and or it might have just been a fastball that to left center.
Hard hit ball, scope, diving play from his knees. He throws and he got him.
Yeah, that is about as good as it gets at second base. You got a speedster. Looks like he's going into right field with a base hit. Have speed, potential to steal a base. And here out of nowhere, I mean, look at the jump that Scope gets. And once he gets up, strong arm, accurate throw. Boy, you got to catch it, and then no hesitation. Base hit turned into an out.
Springer first ball swinging, fouls it back.
After Tony Kemp, they go, you know, I never did that at Double-A or Triple-A. I'd be on first, ready to steal second.
That's because if you're Scope, you get promoted if you do that in Double-A or Triple-A. Springer 1 out of 3 with an RBI single. Well, the Orioles have 6 outs to work with, down by a run. And they'll have to do it against this Astros bullpen, which has been pitching better in the month of May. Worley must be deceptive because he just blew that pitch by him.
Yeah, late movement. You think the ball is going to be in the middle of the plate, and if you get a ball, again, it's not always about the velocity. It's about, does the ball run, or is it cut, or is it move? There's another one that, yes, gets the top of the zone. Springer didn't think so.
Well, called strike 3, 2 men down.
Jordan Baker, home plate umpire, and the ball does run back, and you know, a lot of late life. Late life, you give up on pitches. Give up on this one, and then it was nicely. Watch the readers bring it back into the zone, so it probably was a little bit
Nicely presented.
yes.
Altuve swings through it.
You know, it's funny if you're pitching, your catcher does that, and you don't like the hitter. It was nicely framed. And if you feel sorry for him, because
No, you don't feel sorry for him.
no, I'm saying, well, there are hitters who do it. You know, send up a guy that hasn't been playing.
Lined right to Machado. So Altuve, another loud out, and Worley has a 3-up, 3-down 7th inning. We'll head to the 8th, where Minute Maid Park, O's come to bat, down by a run, 4-3 Houston. I invite you to join us again tomorrow for more O's action. Kevin Gausman will be on the mound against Lance McCullers of the Astros. Our coverage on Masson 2 begins at 7:30 with O's Extra presented by Jeep. And then game coverage at 8 o'clock. We've got all the access you need right here on Masson. In a 4-3 game, the Orioles come up in the 8th. And a new pitcher comes on. Here's Will Harris. We saw him last night.
Yeah, pitched the scoreless 10th inning with a couple of strikeouts. So fastball, curveball. You know, the fastball is 92, 93. Doesn't throw as hard as Giles, who just left. Gave up a run in his first appearance and then 18 consecutive scoreless outings. Doesn't give up a lot of hits. Throws a lot of ground balls. And that's why he's yet to give up a home run.
He'll face Alvarez, Reimold, and Kim. Orioles down by a run here in the 8th. A little bit late on the swing, 0-1. Colby Rasmus has moved from center field to left field. And Jake Marisnick is now in the game in center field. So the rookie Tony Kemp is out of the game.
Yeah, they got the aid defense out there now. There's the hard curveball. It was good last night. He was able to command it. But then again, everybody out of their bullpen, 16 strikeouts, 7 1/3 scoreless innings.
Just trying to get this game even. Down by a run. And a good take by Pedro. One thing about Pedro, he swings and misses a lot. I mean, that's obvious, but he does have a good batting eye. He seems to really look over pitches and get his share of balls.
Let's see if he gets anything to hit here.
Swings through it. Orioles in this game have struck out 14 times. They have gone in order just once. They have left men on in 6 of their 7 at-bats. 9 for the game. And yet another strikeout.
Well, you got one pitch to hit. I mean, 2-1 fastball. You're looking fastball. And you swing and miss it, and then he throws you this pitch. You don't throw a curveball better than this. I mean, that's right off the table. Just imagine table, ball comes up, right to the bottom. So you get a pitch to hit, you don't hit it, and then good pitchers take advantage of those situations.
Nolan Reimold is 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Fouled off. Well, and you know what is going to happen here, at least in the immediate future. The advanced scouts are watching this, and the Orioles are going to be seeing curveball after curveball after curveball.
Well, my point was not too many people can pitch like these guys. I mean, that's how good they've been. Now they haven't really good. Try to hit it to the opposite field. No. Subjugate their ego. No. We saw that on Sunday. If you had gone up against Jared Weaver, who is deceptive, but he was throwing 83 miles per hour, and said runner on second, get him over, probably would have had a better offensive day. But you know, when you hit home runs, you like to hit home runs. You know, I was working out with Mike Bordick, who's doing radio. I said, you had 20. It was fun that year, wasn't it? But I said, that wasn't really you. He said, no. And of course, Bordick was a good hitter because he could hit the ball the other way.
And was willing to hit.
Well, when he worked with Terry Crowley, you know, he couldn't hit a ball in the outside quarter of the plate. After about a couple of months, all of a sudden, he could hit that ball. Then Crow got his swing good enough where he could turn on the fastball. And that's when he started hitting home runs. But he could still hit the ball all over the ballpark. So when you get big long swings, and then you get, you know, pitchers that can pitch well. What Shoemaker did on Saturday night when he struck out, what, 13. Or even McHugh until the 6th inning, where tonight he commanded his stuff for the first 5.
Swing and a miss. Back-to-back Ks and 2 men are down.
All I can say is after this game, Scott Coolbaugh, the hitting instructor, is going to look like Telly Savalas. He's going to lose all his hair with these at bats.
Here is Kim getting a rare start, and he's had a perfect night. 2 doubles and a walk. Strike in the upper part of the zone.
That's the George Springer strike. Not messing around, is he? It's 12 pitches, 8 strikes.
19 consecutive scoreless appearances for Harris. Oh, 2 on Kim. And a base hit the other way. Hung a breaking ball, and Kim was on it. Hits it against the shift. Kim is 3 for 3 plus the walk.
Oh, and you're not scoring runs, and then you have these kind of at-bats. It is a curveball. It does stay up, but his approach is, I'm going to make contact, and he does. Doesn't overswing. Just shoots it into right. And again, potential tie and run. Rickard's going to come in to run for him.
So Kim's 4th multi-hit game, and it's his 2nd 3-hit game of the year. So it turns the lineup over and gets Manny up. Runner goes, pitch is taken low for a second is high, and Rickard has the base.
And he gets a great jump. I'm sure they steal it on Evan Gattis, and now he'll come out. Of course, he'll talk to Will Harris. You know, the signs will change, but no hesitation. This is straight steal. It's tagged by Altuve, but the throw's just up a little bit. Braxton got rid of it very quickly.
Yeah, had a lot on it as well.
Yeah.
So now base hit can get this game even. Rickard with good speed will be running on the swing with 2 outs. It was ball 1 to Manny. Check swing and it's low, ball 2. Astros just got away with one there. Correa broke behind Rickard and was expecting a throw, and instead Harris threw to the plate. Shortstop was wide open. For Rickard, that is his 3rd stolen base.
And again, they're going to pitch around him to get the scope.
Yeah, now that they're 2-0, they won't mess around. So each of the 4 pitchers in this game have walked 1. Aaron O'Day again getting loose. Neshek an intentional walk of Machado in the 6th, and now Harris an intentional walk of Machado in the 8th. Giles walked Chris Davis last inning, and the only walk by the starter McHugh was Kim in his first at bat in the 2nd inning. Jonathan Scope has never faced Will Harris. Base hit can get this game even. Extra base hit can get the Orioles the lead. Outside, ball 1.
That's a little cut fastball, and again, you got a 19 scoreless appearances lying on the right here. He hasn't given up a run since early April. That's how good Will Harris has been.
Bouncer towards the middle. Correa's there. He glove steps on the bag and then jumps over Machado, and Harris gets out of it. So the Orioles strand 2 more, and they'll go to the 9th down at least a run. A base hit, a walk, and 2 men left. We'll head to the bottom of the 8th in a 4-3 game. After the game, brought to you by Lexus of Towson, the area's #1 luxury dealer. Come see why at lexusoftowson.com.
Yeah, back-to-back nights. Bob Buena, 2-run home run off Tillman last night. He only runs till the 13th inning, and then tonight gave him the lead. So Vance Worley still on the mound for the Orioles.
Reimold moves from right field to left field with Kim out of the game, and Joey Rickard, who pinch ran for Kim and stole a base, now in the game in right. Ryan Flaherty's now in the game at third, replacing Alvarez.
Well, you made a good point. Down by hopefully only one, and that's up to Vance Worley. And then the closer for the Astros. Saw him last night. Luke Gregerson gets loose.
That ball hung, and that ball's ripped to left. Bangs against the scoreboard. Reimold will play it back in, and the throw is just late. Correa hustle double.
Yeah, he can run for a big guy. Yeah, they encourage Vance Worley to throw the curveball, but Carlos Correa says, I like that. I mean, it just stays in the middle of the plate, and he smokes it. And then he's not hesitating. I mean, it's right out of the box, a double. Reimold with a good throw. Makes it bang, bang. And watch him sustain the tag just in case he comes off. So he just gets up the leg, but watch him hold the tag. If he comes off at all, which didn't look like he did, get yourself an out.
Well, that's the second consecutive night that ball hits that scoreboard out there and it just dies. Nolan was expecting a little more of a carom. They're waiting to see if Buck wants to challenge. It looked like he did have it beat.
He beats him, but watch the leg. Now, again, you got a very strong man, and scope, does it come off at all? And that's what they're looking at, but it looked like the toe stays on.
And Buck is not going to challenge.
No, but very close to a challenge.
Fastball swung on and missed.
So we see it so many times. The Orioles will get a 1-run lead. You want to get an extra run or two to your closer. That's exactly what the Astros want. And if Rasmus hits one of the right sides or drives them in, they'll get that, because they're going to have to play the infield in. Gaddis coming up.
Back-to-back fastballs, back-to-back swings and misses. Asher Tolliver getting loose in a hurry.
Ooh, sounds hard. The bullpen, the cage, where I don't think you're throwing 120.
Up and away, and it's 1-2 on Rasmus. Vance Worley is second inning. Wilson went 6, 4 runs, 3 earned. That is a huge add-on run out there. The Astros trying to get Correa in.
Yeah, I always thought that Rasmus was a better low ball hitter until I saw him hit Tommy Hunter's 98-mile-per-hour fastball for a game-tying home run in Baltimore a couple of years ago when he was playing with the Jays. Well, it looks like, you know, the one thing about Vance Worley, he'll try to cut it in under your hands if you're a left-handed hitter.
And he got him.
Yeah, so he just throws him a little cutter, late movement. And he can't follow the movement. You know, the difference, the cutter is such a great pitch if you get ahead, because you don't see any spin. It just kind of just cuts in. Throw it like a fastball, hold it off center, and you get that right to left movement.
Here's Gaddis. Correa takes off. Pitch is taken. Throw to third. He is out at third base.
Yeah, if you're at second, you've seen Manny do this a couple of times. You better make it. You better get a big lead. Young player. Thought he could make it. Didn't. But the other side is Matt Wieters. Take a look right here. They got a right-handed hitter. Makes it a little bit more difficult. There he goes. Matt comes out. Perfect throw. Nice tag by Flaherty. And all of a sudden, that add-on run.
That is
it's now standing at home plate. No, not at all.
Now the Orioles in the ninth will have Jones, Davis, and Trumbo coming up. Quick tag there by Flaherty and a great throw by Wieters. That ball's ripped to the corner, and there would have been your add-on run. Gaddis heading for second base. Here's the throw by Reimold. The tag, he is safe. So 2 doubles in the inning, but because of the caught stealing, the Astros don't get a run.
Yeah, Gaddis already with a 2-run home run. And it's a cutter. He waits, stays back just enough, and then another rocket. Ball just kicks a little bit. Oh, and Reimold busy. And another quick tag.
Looked like his foot might have come off.
Well, let's see if he sustains the tag again.
The foot is on the cleat of Jonathan while the tag is there. Buck may want to challenge this one. It's the bottom of the 8th.
Well, he's looking down. And, yep. Yeah, he's going to challenge.
It looked like the glove got under the knee while the foot was on Jonathan's cleat.
So it looks like he beats the throw right there. Now,
right there, looks like he doesn't have contact. See, he's trying to reach back to get contact.
And they'll probably have more angles than that. I don't know if that's enough right there.
This may be enough to get it overturned. Now, Ed Hickox was the second base umpire. And he's over with Dana DeMuth. This would be a big call if the Orioles get it. Another good throw by Reimold, by the way. See, the cleat hits Jonathan, so the foot's off the base right there.
If that's the case, if they think it is, then he's out.
I think the fans are a little uneasy. They're playing it on a
he's
big
out. Yeah,
jumbotron
the foot comes up off the bag. From that angle,
Ed Hickox reacted to the foot being there, but not that the foot was off the bag. Oh, this is going to be a quick verdict. And they call him safe. Wow.
Yeah, I thought the other angle we showed that did look like the foot may come up. But you're right about Reimold making some good throws and very, very good tags by Jonathan Scope. Yeah, see, this is the one where, again, he slaps the tag down. The foot comes up right there. It's off the base. And he
I don't know how you missed that.
Well, maybe they didn't look at that angle. Should have.
So here's Tyler White, the rookie, and he'll take ball 1. That's the one question I know Buck has had in some of his press briefings, in particular before games, reflecting back on the game the night before. If the angle is there that the Orioles see, or the opposing team for that matter, and to their video people, clearly that should have been an out, how is it that New York doesn't see it that way?
It's a good question.
And, you know, does it mean that the umpires there are thinking like umpires, not as video umpires? A 2-1 the count on White, who is 1 out of 3.
You would assume that they look at all the angles, and that would be their job, because that's what the Orioles are doing.
Foul ball. 2-2 on Tyler White. Tyler White did not play in the game last night. He was the only position player not to get in the game. He's facing Vance Worley here for the first time in his career. Two pitches low, ball 3. So Matt Wieters caught the potential base stealer Correa at third on the real good tag by Flaherty. Why Correa ran, who knows? But that was a big play, perfectly executed on both ends. 3-2 on White. And he got him. Worley gets out of it without allowing a run. So the Astros run themselves out of a run. And it remains a 1-run game. Here we go, 9th inning. Buckle up. O's come to bat, trailing 4-3. Orioles baseball on Masson is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. And by Antwerpen Toyota. Get in the game this season with a new Toyota from Antwerpen Toyota. Nighttime skyline downtown Houston. Inside Minute Maid Park with the roof closed for a second consecutive game. And here's the closer, Jim. Luke Gregerson on for the save.
Yeah, pitched last night, gave up a walk and a couple of hits, but a scoreless inning. Well, again, 31 saves for him last year. The year before was a setup man, and I just figured he could come from Oakland and come down here and save 9 out of 12. So he doesn't walk a whole lot of people. And again, he can strike you out because he's got a great slider, and he trusts it. And he's much better against right-handers, as you can see from that number.
Adam Jones will lead off. Davis and Trumbo to follow. Adam is 0 for 4 with a couple of strikeouts. 16 strikeouts for the O's tonight. And he'll look over strike one.
Yeah, he's got the two-seamer that runs in at you if you're right-handed. Then he's got the slider, and you know, he just starts it right at the corner, and you don't pick it up, and it just keeps going away. That one right there. And now he'll just keep expanding the zone unless he makes a mistake.
1-2 on Adam. And he got him. Pitch down and away. One down in the ninth inning. 17 Ks. That is 64 strikeouts on the road trip.
Well, it's a good breaking ball, but it's a foot outside or more. Just don't pick up the spin that you're going to flail at those kind of pitches.
Chris Davis will take ball one.
Now he's about movement. He's about slider speed movement with the slider, and then he's a two-seam fastball, turns it over. He threw a couple of change-ups last night. And that's just a sinking fastball. It starts around the knees. Ideally, you'd like to make him bring the ball up because then it's hittable.
Curveball fouled off. Visit MassonSports.com/CareFirst to vote for tonight's CareFirst Fearless Player of the Game. Live fearless with the name trusted for over 75 years. CareFirst Blue Cross Blue Shield. 1-2 on Davis. One out, nobody on. Rasmus is way over towards the gap in left center field. There's a ton of room down the left field line. Outside, good take. Gets around the plate. Now he can exhale. You never know what the umpire is going to see.
Gaddis caught it nicely. Except he was sitting on the inside middle, and then he just kind of had to put the glove up. Looks like it's going to be a sinker away. So there's your mistake. There's a hittable pitch. Not too many of those. And the count has a lot to do with it. The curveball he hit off McHugh to start the 2-run inning. It was scoring 2 runs in the 6th. First started on a 3-2 curveball. And of course, Gregerson, he's got to read that right there. I mean, that was a mistake that Davis had a pretty good swing at.
High fly ball to left. Did he get enough of it? Back on it is Rasmus near the wall. That ball is off the wall and in play. And Davis is at second base with a 1-out double. It just didn't carry far enough to get into the stands, but it's off the wall for a double. And Chris Davis with a tremendous at-bat to get in the scoring position.
Yeah, he put Gregerson where he has to throw a strike, and then he skies it. Rasmus thinks he's got a chance because he plays a lot of center field. Then he jumps, ball gets the glove. Not sure if it gets the wall on the way down or not.
Oh, he had his glove on it.
Yeah, right. It might be in the web. And
well, Davis got the rally going in the 6th inning with a 9-pitch at bat where he singled. Now that was a 7-pitch at bat for a double. Here's Trumbo. A base hit can get this game even. And a good take. Oh, the Orioles saw that ball hit Jordan Baker's foot. The Astros just got a huge break. That would have gone all the way back to the screen, except it hit the umpire's foot.
yeah, but as we mentioned earlier, when Chris couldn't go up, I mean, that ball just rolled. You can't see it. If you're Chris Davis, you have no idea. You're already in scoring position. You want to do what Correa did, where he got thrown out trying to steal third.
1-0 on Trumbo, who's 1 out of 4 on the night. At the knees of the called strike, 1-1. Trumbo has seen Gregerson just twice. He is 0 for 2 against him.
Yeah, you don't see a whole lot of sliders like Luke Gregerson has. And you got Mark Trumbo, and again, you know, he's been up enough at the major league level to think that he can adjust to it, but it's that good.
Ball and 2 strikes on Trumbo. And he got him.
18th strikeout tonight. You know, I was reading something. Houston streak very much like Luke Gregerson, a lot more saves because that's what he does. Gregerson only a closer for the first time last year, but they said, "Do you get nervous?" He said, "No, I've just done it time and time and time again." And you get the feeling that's what Gregerson says. I'm just going to make my pitches. Now it changes a little bit here because you get the lefty, and Wieters has been hot.
Orioles down to their final out. And he lays off that pitch that breaks down. Adam Jones and the Birds down to their final out. They have battled. They just can't get the big base hit.
Well, Chris Davis is going to go on contact because it's 2 outs. Great arm in right, really good arm in center, and Rasmus with a slightly above average arm in left. And we saw last night what they went 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position. None of them scored any runs. And the runs scored on the home run. Balls were hit too hard.
And a bouncer to second base. This should do it. Altuve will throw out Wieters, and the Orioles have lost back-to-back games in this series. They've now lost 3 in a row. So they get a 1-out double by Davis. Strand him at second base. 12 men left on. Final score in Houston, 4-3 Astros.